Come on. All right, fellas, here we go. Prepare, my friends. Prepare, my dear friends. As we step into the weird. I love the weird. That's the show. Hello, everybody. I am your old Papa Jaffe or whatever the fuck. It's good to see everybody. I appreciate you being here for this particular show. If you're here thinking, what the hell, isn't this a video game channel? It is. It is on most nights, but on Saturdays we do I love the weird, and it's all about ghosts and aliens and weird brain stuff and just stuff that's disturbing and fascinating and cool and all that good stuff that you know you love. You gots to love it. At least I do, and I'm glad you're here sharing the fun with me. Hello there, you guys are. Okay, we got a lot on the show tonight. As you don't know, there's a show where you can call in and tell us your stories and debate and discuss. There's the link right there. I'll put it up from time to time. You don't have to be on camera, of course. You can just use your voice, but you do call in usually through, your cell or your computer and stuff like that. So there's the link. We're going to get into some 9/11 stuff today. We're going to have a bit of a sad, not sad like emotionally sad, although what else kind is there, Jaffe? But we're going to have a bit of a conversation about some debunking, which that always makes me sad, actually. Some stuff that hasn't quite come to pass that's disappointing. We're going to talk about self-mummification and all kinds of other things. Moops in the chat says, Jaffe, I'm watching Poltergeist on my other monitor, and this music syncs up personally. Let me tell you perfectly. Let me tell you something. I went to school with Oliver Robbins, who was the kid in Poltergeist who got attacked by the clown. They pulled him under his bed. He said literally there was one shot they did, and they thought he was acting because the clown was malfunctioning a little bit. It was actually choking the guy. So it was the real deal for him. And I used to tease him. I was just like, hey, Oliver, when are you going to die? God, that's terrible. Because all the other Poltergeist kids died, right? The teenage daughter died, and then Carol Ann died, and then Oliver's still kicking around. So, I think he's escaped the child actor death. There is a documentary on the Poltergeist curse. Sorry, I'll come back. I'll get back to the microphone 1 second. I'm moving this fan around. There is a documentary on the Poltergeist curse that is, I think it's on Shudder. I haven't watched it yet, but I am quite curious to see it. Regardless, hello, Duke. Good to see you, bud. All right, let's just jump right in, my crazy, weird friends. See what I did? I sort of integrated the name of the channel of the show into my vernacular. Yeah, it's why I'm a... Anyway. Let us begin. We're going to begin because there is going to be some debunking going on this evening, and I'm not a debunker in the sense that I, not to be cliche, but I very much want to believe, and I very much do believe that there's a lot of crazy shit going on out there. But I'm also, I don't want to fool myself, right? So I always approach this stuff with an open mind, but I'm not a moron. I know a lot of people are being out there bamboozling you left and right. So I'm going to show you this. We're going to kick off, though, on something that there's no way this is real, what I'm about to show you. But at the same time, though, this was a live stream, right? This was a live TikTok. Somebody was streaming from the TikTok. And so it's not like they were able to go back in and CG it, right? But this can't be real. This is a ridiculous concept. But at the same time, who the fuck knows? Let me show you this. Let me give you my screen over here, and we'll watch it together. You tell me what you think on the other side. It's only a couple of minutes. I'm getting this from Coast to Coast website, but this is, that's not where it originated from. Here you go. Watch this shit.
This the spot. This the spot. Nah, come back out. Look, why they be peeking like that?
Look, see the little dude in the hole? See the little dude in the hole?
Peeking. Alright, so look, let me know.
Right? Right? Check it out. Look at this little fucker in there. I mean, maybe it's a walking stick? No. That's weird. That's fucking weird. But okay, so what am I looking at, fellas? That's all I want to know. What the fuck am I actually looking at there? Jason says, hey, look, man, I saw the strangest thing just now. Me and my family were lighting fireworks. We saw a trail of 11 things flying in the sky. I don't know if they were drones or what, but it was odd. Yeah, I don't know. I, as a guy, like I said, as a guy who believes in all this or wants to believe, I would absolutely love to see things like that. But I've never seen any of that shit in the sky. I maybe when I was a little kid, but I don't even know if that was just my imagination. Did you take a picture of it? Do you have any evidence of it? There's a great website, by the way. What is that thing called? I'll get you guys a link when I can find it. But it is a site, an app that you can upload pictures of things you've seen in the sky. And they kind of have a map, and they lay down the coordinates and tell you where people are seeing it at what time and all that stuff. And, some of it's bullshit, but a lot of it's pretty fucking compelling. Yeah, it looks like Dobby from Harry Potter in the tree. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and who was it? Somebody just said Nugget said people can stream non-live content to social media. No, I know. So maybe it's bullshit. It probably is. I mean, look, I'm not walking around believing in fucking little characters living in trees, but, stranger things, maybe they've happened. I don't know. Okay. Let's get to some actual real shit, though. Maybe, again, people believe this shit, but it's pretty good fakery, as Doc Brown says. Okay. Let's move forward, shall we? This is, I want to talk about this real quick. I want to ask you guys a question, then we'll get into the real weird stuff. Oh yeah, there's serious pipes. Oh, hey, somebody's tweeting from Twitter. I didn't know you could actually send a message from Twitter. That's great. Thanks for being here with us, buddy. Okay. So, Ace. Okay. I'm not quite sure what just happened there, but I know what just happened. Ace, my guy, he just shit on the floor. We're gonna push through, boys. We're gonna push through, even though the smell is terrifically horrid. Okay. So here's a question for you. What? I'm sitting here thinking, am I gonna power through? That's what I'm thinking. Am I gonna power through, or am I gonna pause the stream and get the shit out of here? Oh my God. I'm going to just try. I'm just going to try. I'm going to try to power through. We'll see what happens. Here's the point, though. You ever driving around, you ever doing something, and a thought just pops into your brain, and you're kind of like, well, where the fuck did that come from? Right? Where did the thought come from that's entered my brain pan? And is it just some weird chemical reaction that just randomly caused a neuron to fire, or what? Well, there's a study that was done, which I thought was pretty fucking interesting. This is a study that was done in the UK, right? And the woman who wrote the article for Psychology Today, or the dude, I'm sorry, Hal McDonald, he had a farm. He said, for him, he was giving an example, right? His example was, he says, hey, I'm driving around and I'm commuting, and suddenly I passed a house with a purple glass ball in the front yard. And just suddenly his brain took him back to when he was a kid. He says, in my mind's eye, I was sitting at a picnic table, or a table near the circulation desk, flipping through a Tom and Jerry picture book, a favorite of my 5-year-old self, while the kindly librarian snacked on blah, 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 what doesn't matter. The guy says, I puzzled over the inexplicable memory flash until I saw the page to which I was turning in my head, where the mischievous Jerry, Tom and Jerry, is hurling a large juicy plum at Tom's face. The plum in the picture was exactly the same distinctive shade of purple as the ball that I was looking at in the real world, the sight of which spontaneously triggered the memory. Okay? So what's neat about this, so then this guy goes off and does this study on this thing called IAM printing, which is basically a priming, which is what causes you to have memories, even though you don't really know why you're having memories. It says he did this study where he would drive into work for a year and a half and he recorded himself just talking about everything. And then he would go back and play it back. And he would be like, okay, what caused me to have that thought? Because usually it's subconscious. But with him talking, he would have these memories of it and go, oh, that's what I was thinking about. He says, an insight that came from this study is very often an autobiographical memory will unexpectedly pop into your head, seemingly out of nowhere. The review of his audio recordings, however, revealed that many of the spontaneous memories that he recorded were not, in fact, spontaneous, but had been triggered by cues that he had encountered several seconds or even minutes earlier. Which I think that's pretty fucking amazing. When you think about it, when you walk through your day and things come into your head and you're like, I don't know why I'm thinking about that. The study's like, well, we do now, or at least we know why a lot of people are. It's because you just saw some random thing. It could have been 5 minutes ago. And it's just like this time delay where your brain is just kind of warming up or sending those signals or sending out its tendrils and looking for something to connect with. And suddenly, boom, you're back in the memory of being a kid or, you know, your first date or whatever it was. It says one general point the study makes clear is what a great opportunity the daily commute, like going to work, obviously, offers for experiencing involuntary autobiographical memories. Research shows that spontaneous thoughts and memories occur more often when people are engaged in undemanding habitual activities. Let's remember this now. If you want to go back in time, have these memories. Spontaneous thoughts, research shows, occur more often when you're engaged in undemanding habitual activities like driving, taking a shower, and just zoning. If we pay attention to these mind meanderings during our morning commute, for example, instead of tuning into NPR or queuing up a podcast, you never know where they'll take you. So this is that's pretty interesting because you do wonder where the thoughts come from. And it does get into a little bit of the free will stuff. I mean, this doesn't debunk free will. It doesn't debunk Sam Harris's free will thing, of course. It's still, you know, the chemicals in your brain could be primed to go, look, you're going to look that way and you're going to see that, and seeing that it's going to cause this chemical reaction. So it doesn't take the piss out of free will, but it is still pretty fucking interesting. Okay. Somebody's asking me about tornadoes. Jaffe, are you following, says Bad Robo, the weather in the USA and the tornadoes that are appearing? Not really. I mean, I know there's some really bad tornadoes going on in parts of the country, but are they occurring in unusual places, or are they just unusually strong? I know I want to see Twisters. I want to see that movie. Jason Pocketman says, saying there's no free will is a nihilistic view. Okay. I mean, I don't care. My views of the world don't come from what the view will be judged as. My views of the world come from my experience. Otherwise, you're kind of doing it backwards. Then you're just saying that I don't want to be nihilistic, so I'm only going to believe in, quote, facts that, adhere to that person I want to be, which is a nice way to sometimes get things done. It's also a nice way to kind of, have a crack with reality and live in, a level of denial that's ultimately unhealthy. Aquastorm says, this is exactly why creativity is down in all entertainment. We have less of those times where we're not distracted by our phones. It really isn't. I appreciate that, Aquastorm, and I wouldn't disagree with you that creativity in a lot of entertainment is down. But I think there is a very direct majority reason. There are, the things you mentioned are not involved, of course. But it's clearly just the money. Creativity is not down in the indie space of movies or books or music or whatever. But it's very much down when you're having to spend, $250 million for a movie or a video game. I mean, that's very simple. But I'm sure the phones don't help. There's no doubt. I mean, the phones have been great and they've also fucked us up. All right. We're going to talk briefly about some UFO stuff, and then we're going to jump into 9/11. This is only interesting in that, every week there's something new going on in the UFO UAP world. Not everybody feels that good sir, what's this guy's name? Greer. What's his first name? Dr. Greer. he's been around. You know, he's the guy that leads up Stephen Greer leads up Disclosure Project, advises people in Congress. You know, he seems legit-ish. There's certain, you know, so it's hard to say. But here's what he said, though. He's certainly not like a total shyster like some of these guys, but he's not David Grush either, right? Here's what he says. Intelligence advisor says, quote, catastrophic disclosure about UFOs may be on the horizon. Stephen Greer says, this is his quote, there's a guy very high up in the covert program. He said, we are going to do catastrophic disclosure, huge and all at once, that will catch the president and Congress flat-footed. The former emergency doctor has now rushed to make public all the information his group has in order to prepare the public for what he says is just around the corner. That is why I rushed to get the archive out, to prepare people for something much bigger, which is coming. And it's called the Disclosure Project Intelligence Archive. And you can link to it right now. You can join it for free. And there is a great deal of data there. There are whistleblower names, where they come from, what they saw. There's video, there's pictures. He says, the information we have is so timely and critical that we are providing it to the public. 122 crash retrievals documented, many with named sources. He says, look, this is real. Here are 122 named whistleblowers, not secondhand people. These are the direct people. I have people in these covert programs who are furious. 2 members of Congress killed the momentum. If you don't know what he means, there was a disclosure bill in the Senate that was meant to sort of protect all of these whistleblowers. So, because there's a lot of people that are like, look, you guys, we can't come out and tell you things without guaranteed protection, because it says, people have been killed. Listen to this. It says, he says this needs to be investigated, says Greer. There are people embedded in the system to stop disclosure. Now we know who they are. There were 2 Congress folks who basically took the teeth out of that bill and made it so these guys weren't as protected to come forward. One chairman of a Fortune 50 corporation who has documents on the propulsion system drawings and energy systems had a man come to him, he said, and tell him they would kill his whole family. It is claimed the officers on the verge of whistleblowing are doing so at the highest level, and they have information that can change and shock the world overnight. There's a cell highly operational within the UAP program who are organizing to come forward. I met with them 10 days ago. So who knows if it's true, but if you want to link to the Disclosure Project Intelligence Archive, I signed up. I'll show you what that looks like, just so you can kind of see if it would be, something that tickles your fancy. But this is what he's saying. He's like, look, man, we got to get prepared, because when all this comes down, it's going to change the world. He's got images of UFO secret facilities. He's got the whistleblowers and witnesses. He's got crash retrieval information. So, it's there. Do with it what you will. If you want to link and you're into such malarkey, and I hope it's true. Again, I am not a guy that goes around knocking this shit. I need to see it with my own fucking eyes. Greer talks 0 point energy, but then claims can't release info unless you give him a ton of money. I'm not suggesting. There's a lot of these guys that we don't know. The Congress says that Grush is pretty, is the real deal. Elizondo, they say, is the real deal. This guy's got a little bit more of a suspicion floating around him. But here you go. Give it a check if you're into such stuff. Now, before we get to the debunking, because again, it makes me sad. I don't like knowing that this stuff may not be true. I want to believe this shit. So I'm going to give you at least this story that you guys may have heard of. I'd never heard of this. I saw it on Fascinating on the Twitter account, whatever it's called. It says, in 1973, 2 men went into the police claiming to have been abducted by aliens. The police thought they were lying, so they left the men alone in the room with a secret recording device, because they were hoping that when no one's in there, they'd be like, oh, hey, man, we're fucking these guys up, or, don't forget, lie about this, or, blah, blah, blah. To their surprise, the police's surprise, the men continued talking about what had happened and how terrified they were. The 2 men claimed they were conscious but paralyzed, while 3 creatures with robotic slit mouths and crab-like pincers took them aboard, and subjected them to an examination. So, I mean, that's pretty compelling. Unless they knew the device was in there, but, who's to say? Who's to say? Moop says, why do you want to believe it's true? Because I want to know. Okay, it's a great question. It's a great question. I would like to believe aliens are real and the machine elves are real and all of that, because I like the mystery being solved. I want to know. I mean, it's when you think about life, and the world and the existence, it is so confusing if you allow yourself to peek as much as a human can peek, and as much as a human at my intelligence level, which is not super high, can peek behind the curtain. And once you peek behind the curtain, you know something's going on, even if it's totally meaningless. And so I'm like, I want to know that. I mean, it's just, to me, that's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So, that's why. I mean, to me, my question would be to someone is, why wouldn't you want to know, is what I would say. Vitaphone says, are these the fire in the sky guys? I don't know. First off, see, this is what I don't understand. Into the deep state. This is you guys who say shit like this. He says faith in aliens, and he has aliens in quotes for some reason, replaces the faith in God to a subverted atheist like you, Jaffe. First off, what is a subverted atheist? But I'm not an atheist. I think being an atheist is just as ridiculous as claiming that you're religious. I'm an agnostic. I've been an agnostic atheist. I'm only an atheist as it relates to the major religions that we've had in mankind. I certainly don't believe in Zeus or Jesus or Muhammad or Yahweh or any of that stuff. But no, I absolutely. So the idea though that you want to believe in aliens because you need to believe in something. No, I really don't. I understand the drive that humans have to want to believe in something. I absolutely get that. But I also know that while I may not be smart enough, I'm evolved enough to be, and self-aware enough is probably a better way to say it, that I can recognize, oh yeah, you gotta, if you're really searching for truth, as much as we can discover truth, you have to be willing to sort of look into the dark corners of what you consider the dark corners. If there is no God, if there are no aliens, if we're all alone, if we die and it's just black darkness, which we wouldn't experience as black darkness, but we just wouldn't exist. Okay. I mean, I can die with that. But I guess I'm only pushing back into the deep state because I think it's an actually relatively reckless view of people who like to search. It's not like, oh, he's searching because he really wants God. Hey, show me proof of God and real proof. Don't give me this, well, just look at the ocean. No, give me real fucking truth. Great, I'm there. Give me a shred of evidence and I'll consider it. Moop says, but there's so many possible answers. It's not that I don't want to know what's behind the curtain, but I'm not married to the idea of aliens. Neither am I. Nor am I. If it is all a simulation, which is more likely than religion, and maybe not as it's hard. It's probably more likely even than we got put here by aliens. But I don't. Yeah, I'm with you, baby. I don't fucking know. All right, but here's the reason this picture exists. Jaffe, it's the AI can't quite do letters yet. Jaffe's sad debunking corner, because like I said, I would like to believe this stuff. But so far nothing's come along in my brain pan to make me believe when I see evidence to the contrary. So we're going to talk a little bit about 9/11 first. We had a guy on the show over the week who was like, oh, he was really hyped up on 9/11 conspiracy. And I'm like, well, wait till Saturday. If he's around, maybe he'll call in. But again, if you want to call in and share your thoughts on any of the topics we're talking about tonight, here is a link for you to do so. Again, this is not the game show. That's happening Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 5:00. But here you go. Okay. I've not read the book Alien Interview. Should I, Zeke? Isaac Clark says, what if when we die, we simply live our lives again in an endless cycle of the same life we just lived? Well, we wouldn't know it then. So, okay. I mean, that sucks. Maybe one day it's kind of like those sci-fi episodes, or I know there was a famous Star Trek Next Generation one, but there's lots of them where it's just kind of like, eventually you're going to go, wait a minute. It's like Groundhog Day. You're going to recognize it eventually. CR3D says you get into fractal geometry and the evidence is overwhelming. The evidence of what? I2 says Sirius Pipe says, I think there's something to the UFO phenomenon, although I always thought the first place to look is terrestrial. Oh, yeah. We see a small fraction of the fossil record. All kinds of hominids have walked the earth that we know. That some close relative may be hiding, have advanced tech is fascinating. Well, I mean, there's all of that, right? I mean, again, I have no evidence, and science hasn't shared it, if they do, that, you know, whatever planet crashed into Earth to make the moon, or whatever crashed into Earth, maybe it was a planet that had life on it, and that's where we came from. Or, you know, I was at a place called the Living Seas this week with the family, and it was just, you know, even though I know there's all these creatures out there, to see all of these really weird fucking fish and reptiles and things that live for like 150 years, like certain sea turtles and shit they had. Yeah, I mean, you know, we're surrounded by crazy that we, you know, and it may be that we end up learning how to communicate with the animals a lot sooner than we connect with aliens, if they exist at all. But I'm with you, man. Okay. I love the giant stuff here on Earth. Were they aliens? Awesome Tatum, I just read something about the giants. What the fuck was I reading? It was the other day, and it was, or maybe I was playing Hellblade 2. I was playing Hellblade 2, and there's a giant in that. But there actually is something about giants on Earth before we got here, but I need to go back and figure out what I'm looking at. Jaffe CR says the evidence regarding fractals is overwhelming. This universe and everything in it was designed to a degree. It's not random by a long shot. What you just said means nothing to me, though, because you're not offering the specific evidence, right? You're just saying there's evidence out there. And more importantly, what I would need is evidence that proves that it's not your mind finding patterns, and that's what you're calling evidence. It sounds like, and I'm not saying it is, but it sounds like when I read what you just wrote, you're one of those people that are, it's the religious equivalent of saying, oh, well, if you want to look at God, believe in God, just look at the animals. You can't tell me animals or the beautiful ocean view, that's just all by accident. And my answer is, sure, I can. We have anthropomorphized, not really literally, but we have added meaning and pattern to things that other people without that cultural reference would probably not add. There's nothing inherently scientific about thinking the color blue is prettier than the color yellow. No one thinks that, but you know what I'm saying? An ocean view or this, that, or the other, it just is. And we apply our own rationale on top of it, is what I would say. Okay. The giant stuff goes deep, says awesome. Folks on record saying they found 15 and even 25-foot skeletons. Yeah, but a lot of that's been debunked too. I mean, you gotta fucking, you know, look out for this shit. I get sum up fractal geometry. I'm not your teacher. Oh, of course not. Well, you're my teacher when you want to speak in broad terms. Look, I mean, that's what's fascinating. I get sum up fractal geometry, says CR. I'm not your teacher. But if you're seeking truth, look into it. Make up your own mind. That's fine, but that's totally inconsistent with you writing this. Jaffe, the evidence is overwhelming. This universe and everything in it was designed to a degree. It's not random by a long shot. So you have no problem being a teacher to me and to the audience when you don't have to actually back anything up that you're teaching. But when I ask you for definitive proof, you say, well, I'm not your teacher. You should go look it up. And I'm like, don't those things contradict a little bit? Dark says, do you know how incredibly irrational that everything came from nothing? No, you're the one who's irrational, right? Because the concept of anything and nothing and something is a human idea. There's a lot of evidence, but it's certainly just a hypothesis. There's a lot, or theory. There's a lot of there are a number of physicists who say time is not real. It is a biological construct. So the idea of something being before nothing and nothing ever actually existing Or there is also theories that suggest that the universe expands and then contracts, and it just does that over and over and over. So there was never nothing. It was just the universe before that. When it contracted and expanded, that's the universe that we're in. Is so I don't know, man. You have to bring some self-awareness and psychological awareness to the conversation, because if you don't, you're going to just get bamboozled and hoodwinked just like Plymouth Rock. I know, if you don't know the reference, fuck you. J Lord, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, as a game developer, you're an artist and an ad artist and an artist. Do you prefer realism or naturalism? Naturalism. I don't mean romantic love. I mean romanticized art. I mean, I don't, okay, as a consumer, what I have found in my life that I prefer in any medium is art that is not so abstract that I can't relate to it, but I like things that feel realistic, and then there's a little bit of a twist, right? So like urban fantasy, for example, is really appealing to me. But I don't like pure romanticization unless it's parody, because it's so clear it's bullshit that it can't really resonate with me, and thus I can't really, Alexa, stop, and thus I can't really engage with it and use it. Leg fam, thank you, buddy. He says, Jaffe, I have a question. How'd you come up with the idea for Twisted Metal? Appreciate the super chat. I really, really do. And here's what I'm going to do. Alexa, remind me Monday at 3 p.m. to put in Saturday's chat on today's show. Okay, so I will answer that, but it'll be on the Gabbin' and Games. This is not a game show. But thank you for the super chat. You didn't pay for nothing. You didn't waste your money, buddy. I appreciate it, but I'll answer that on the game show. And it'll be up. It'll be live Monday at 5, and then you'll be able to watch it whenever you want. Okay. How could something come from nothing? Which creation came to exist without a creator? Okay, I'm going to get off this topic real quick because we could spin here forever, and I want to bring in Isma. But how could something come from nothing? Something and nothing are two human-based words that, I mean, all of these are human-based words, but those are ideas that are not theoretically or are not physically provable. What is something? What is nothing? What is creation? What is exist? What is a creator? You are filtering your view of the world, as of course you can, as you should, as we do, through the lens. But if you really want to dive into this and figure out what's happening, or at least make an honest effort, you have to be self-aware and willing to go, oh, I'm doing that thing that I do because I'm human. And, there's so much shit that we can't see visually that we know is there in terms of wavelengths and whatnot. We can't hear everything that's going on. Maybe there are dimensions around us sharing the same space, but at a different frequency that we simply can't see and interact with. So when you come at the question demanding the answer built on the bones of of a person's limited senses, the question is actually quite juvenile when you ask it that way. I don't mean you are. I'm just saying that it's not the gotcha question you think it is. It's kind of like, when animals look in a mirror and they don't understand that it's really them, until some animals can eventually learn it, or kids don't realize they're not the center of the universe until they get to about 3 or 4. It's kind of like you're coming at the question at such a basic level, that I can't really engage with the question because I can't prove anything to you because I don't believe in those terms in the way that you believe in them. I hope that makes sense. Okay. The only thing I believe is reality did not come into existence on its own, says Robo. You don't know what reality is. You have no idea what reality is. So maybe it did. Maybe it absolutely did. Let me bring in Isma real quick, see what they got to say. Isma, what's up, man? It's Jaffe. Isma, are you there, buddy? You got to unmute your mic. All right, well, you're on the show if you want to say anything. Where would God get created if everything needs a creator? Well, that's the other thing. I have not talked 9/11. We're about to jump into that. All right, Isma, well, stay on the line. If you want to come in later, but you're on if you want to talk, man. Okay. Oh, are you there? All right. Well, I can't. Okay.
Yes, I think so.
Yes, I can hear you now. Talk a little louder. What's up, buddy?
Nothing. Sorry, I didn't know I had to.
You called in with nothing to say?
I didn't know I could. I just came to this StreamYard. I thought it was for.
Your mic is really weird right now, buddy. I cannot hear you other than you're cutting in and out. So if you can fix that, call back, okay?
Okay.
All right, thanks, buddy. All right, well, maybe we'll get Isma back on if he can fix his tech problems. Meantime, here's the link if you want to call in too. We can't see the fourth dimension, says PK, but anything in the fourth dimension can see our dimension. If I know what you mean, based on the way it's explained, yeah, I think that makes sense. Calling existence creation presupposes a creator. It's a loaded question, says Jake. Yeah, right. Is life just a simulation? Are you all just NPCs to me? Maybe. Cheeseworks. I mean, that's what we all believe. We all know that's a possibility. It's quite possible that life is different for all of us, and we're all having our own unique experience. And maybe we, every time I make a choice, the version of you branches off with me, but your version goes somewhere else. There's a whole very pseudoscience theory that I love called quantum immortality, which is basically about that. And I've talked about this on previous streams, but I've had experiences where I have known that I should have died. Not a lot. I'm not like it happens all the time. No, it's happened twice to me. Once at E3 in a taxi, back when there were taxis. I know there's still taxis, you know what I'm saying? And once when I was driving with my kid about 2 years ago. And both times I was like, okay, that somewhere, somehow that just went really bad. But I felt it. I felt like a little hiccup in something. And it's probably, if somebody came to me and said, but Jaffe, that was just your psychology dealing with the fact that you could have died, and it feels that way, and you're now ascribing meaning to it, I go, oh, okay. Yeah, I buy that. I'm not saying that's true, but I would buy it if it's true. Okay. All right, let's move forward. Let's get to some debunking, speaking of. We were talking last week about this UFO footage. Forget who it was who called in. He had a lot of great information. Great to talk to the guy. And he called in and he was telling me about the Malaysia flight that vanished. And then there was the footage with the orb circling the plane. And then the plane just vanished in thin air. And there was a lot of theories about it. A lot of very interesting creative theories about it. It's not awkward. There he goes. Hey, buddy. A lot of great theories about it. Like, there were some scientists that were trying to defect to China and they were working on programs that were, similar to what people are saying that these orbs were doing, which was like applying quantum physics to these giant objects in order to move them through time and space and all this shit. And I mean, again, my mind is open. But, since then I did do a little research, as you have to do. And there's a lot of videos out there that are pretty compelling. Here's one of them. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. This went up May 20th. And maybe there's a way to debunk this. But in the video, this is supposed to be the airplane right here in an infrared kind of thing or whatever her view was. And this is the reticle of the drone that was capturing it by the military. And when you zoom in, though, not only do you discover a lot of masking on the thing that implies that she's done an overlay, or not her, but whoever did the effects did an overlay. But if this was really true, the object would not pass in front of the reticle. The reticle would be in front of the object. It's kind of like looking through a camera lens and seeing, stuff on the glass, and suddenly that appears behind your subject. But you can see it goes right over it, right? Another one. Oh, you can't see what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, fellas. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. I'll put it on the screen. Here you go. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm still getting used to this software. Here you go. So it's going right over the reticle. You see that? She'll do it again. And then there's, you guys know what it called, Corridor Crew that do a lot of effects and shit. They went in, and this video is more popular. This other video has been out for a while, but they went in and they're like, we just found the explosion, which was from the 90s, that they used in the effects of the UFO or of the plane blanking out. And then they're like, look, it's the exact same fucking footage. So, sorry. I mean, again, I'm not saying it's not real. I'm not saying something bad didn't go down, but this is why you got to fucking, you got to follow your nose, man, like the 2K and Sam does. So, I was disappointed though, because it was pretty cool story, pretty good ideas. What's real, Cheeseworks? What I'm showing you? Yeah, it is real, because here's the evidence of it. Here's the footage. You can download it right now. You can apply it to whatever you want to do. Here's the military footage. I don't, yeah. Okay. Not awkward says, please. I don't, please. Oh yeah, you can call in, right? Yeah, of course. I put here's the link. I'd love to hear what you have to say on this. This is not awkward. He'll come in a second. Unless there's lag. He called in last week and he was the one that introduced me to this. So if you're watching this, not awkward, I know you are, and you're going, this is not debunkable, or this has not been debunked by what I'm showing you, I would love to fucking hear. Absolutely. Just because it looks the same doesn't mean it's CGI. Well, I don't know what that means. I mean, it's literally the same footage. It's not that it looks kind of like similar. They're saying, look, you can go to a stock Pyromania Volume 1. You can get stock footage from the 90s that an effects house released to make money. And if you download it, like this guy, after watching the Corridor Crawl guys, he went and downloaded it because he wanted to know if this was legit. And here's what happened. So he downloads it, and he's trying to make the video himself. And that's the footage, right? So it's exact same footage, and then he's obviously, they took the color out just like he did. But when you actually expand it and lay it over it, it's exactly the same thing. Oh, he says they didn't line up, but the Corridor guys say they did line up. But you could have also just, you could have scaled it down. And the shape in green is the overlaid stock footage. They were close, but it still wasn't right. This guy says, I don't know. Hang on, let's see what he says. Yeah, so visual effects is not, their artists are always stretching and warping images. Exactly, right. So no, that's pretty compelling. Let's bring in Awkward. He says, no, I'm going to tell you this is real. Okay. All right, Awkward, it's Jaffe. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, what's going on, man?
No problem. Nice to talk to you again.
You too.
Okay, so with the VFX debunk, what's very interesting about it is, so in the Corridor Crew video specifically, they took the original video and they just chromatic, like they black scaled it and then just showed it like overlapping. But if you actually go to the actual asset that they say matches, it doesn't match. The only way to get it to match is if you manipulate it to match. Now, what's interesting about that, though...
Well, yeah, but that's what this guy was just saying. It's like, I can go into Photoshop and I can... Like, when I do my thumbnails for the Gabbin' and Games, I'll take a picture of Assassin's Creed. The Assassin's Creed Shadow. I'll take the key art. And I may stretch it and warp it and stuff to get it to fit and get the text to not cover the guy's face or whatever. But that doesn't mean that that doesn't debunk the fact or take away the fact that they could have taken that footage and manipulated it, does it?
Not necessarily, but I would have to ask you, why would you do that?
Why would you do
in this instance, like specifically for this video, why would you do all those changes just to get it to look that way when it's not really that different?
It could have just been technical. It could have been that, like this other woman was saying, where she's talking about, you can see the masking of the plane, like the composition lines. It could have been that maybe the lines were the same color or with the explosion effect. And so in doing it, it created a weird visual anomaly that looked fake. I mean, there's a million reasons why. So he may have taken a little edge of it and said, let me kind of sort of transform that a la Photoshop or what have you. So the explosion isn't going over the cloud, because the cloud is white and the edge of the explosion is white. And then you're going to end up having some kind of weird visual artifact. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm saying there's lots of reasons that you could do it. What do you think about this other one though, where this woman is saying, hey, somebody in the chat's like, there's no way this is from the military. It's classified. But you explained last week that this is actually a military drone. It's footage they released.
It's a leak. It's a leak. So yeah, we even have the name of the guy that leaked it. So all I have to ask, so with all these debunks.
Well, no, let me ask you this one though. So on this one, what about the fact that the objects are passing in front of the reticle?
Yeah, so apparently that's actually just due to compression in the actual video. The video is compressed to hell, so it's like an artifacting issue. But also, there are a lot of cases where that does happen because the FLIR footage will prioritize the actual subject, like whatever the infrared thing is. It'll often prioritize that over the HUD data, so it can be that way. But because the video is so compressed, this is like it's not like a big enough ground to like weigh on. But Ashton has all of the rebunks for each and every single one of these debunks on his page.
Okay.
Now,
what's his last name again, and so people know?
His is Ashton Forbes, but his Twitter is just X Ashton.
Okay.
Would be the @ for that. But yeah, every single one of these has been addressed. When you see any of these debunks, just make sure before you cast judgment, see the counter argument and then come to your conclusion. But what's interesting about the VFX one though that you're talking about. So the VFX one was actually planted in January of last year. And we know this because Ashton was streaming the website, the actual Metabunk website where the VFX was found. And in the actual, so there's like a little image that has like all of the assets in the pack. But whoever tried to plant this, they fucked up because one of the boxes is literally a screen grab from this video, the actual FLIR video. And they put it there to make it seem like it was a part of the asset pack. And then the moment Ashton called it out on Twitter, whoever was the owner of the website, they went and changed it. They went
okay, just so I'm clear, you're talking about the corridor effects stuff. You're not talking about the woman's with the reticle.
Yeah, I'm talking about that video, yes.
Got it. Okay. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, to be clear, all of those VFX debunks, they all come from one man. His name is Mick West. So the Corridor Crew, that's not their debunk. They just went to the Metabunk website and then just
so who is
Mick?
Who is Mick West and what is the Metabunk website?
So Metabunk is just a website that pretty much just targets a lot of these types of videos, and they try to dig into them and
sweet.
debunk
All right,
them.
that's important to know. Metabunk.org, you guys, check it out. Okay, keep going.
So Ashton really has it out for this Mick West guy just because every single one of these debunks, at least most of them are fabricated on his part. Like there's one that he would do with the contrails, and then that one got rebunked. Apparently some software he used to stabilize the footage made the contrails look like they weren't accurate to real life or whatever.
Right.
Then interestingly enough, Mick West, so there was a debunk. So Mick West is normally the guy that all the debunkers go to for VFX opinions. But what's interesting is, this kind of goes into the narrative with this plane and who was on it or whatever. So the only American passenger, his name was Philip Wood. And there was a picture that was posted online very shortly after the plane disappeared, probably like a week or two after the fact. And it was a picture posted to 4chan, and it was just an all black image with a post, and the text said like, my name is Philip Wood. I'm in Diego Garcia. I believe I've been drugged. I've hidden my phone or whatever. And Mick West, which this is very outside of his his zone, but he came out and immediately debunked this image, saying that the EXIF data could be manipulated. And for those that don't know, EXIF data is basically the data that's like in an image.
No, but what? Yeah, but what did it have?
Exactly the location.
But wait a minute, the guy said he was abducted by aliens, or I don't understand what was there to be debunked.
No. So the photo implied, because he was a passenger on the plane, and if he is who he says
I got it.
At Diego Garcia.
Got it.
Yeah, so
that
would give people the impression like, oh wait, one of the people, they're alive. They're saying they're alive, and they're on this military base somewhere, right? So it was just weird that he debunked that, but also every single
as in this guy has a vested interest. You're saying this guy has a vested interest in shutting this theory down.
Yes. And Ashton has literally tried to debate him 4 times. All 4 occasions he's backed out. He's very, very, for some reason, he really doesn't want these videos to get the attention they're getting. And every single one of his moves he does is very sus. I can't make, a judgment on if he's like a disinfo agent or something like that.
Well, somebody in the chat was saying that he's a game programmer. Somebody in the chat's telling me that he was a Tony Hawk game programmer, and I should get him on the show.
Yeah,
I'll reach out to him, but I don't know. I mean, people change, but
yeah, definitely do.
It's interesting. All right, buddy. Thank you for calling back. Always great to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. See you, bud. There he goes. That's really interesting. The guy knows a lot about this stuff. I'll bring him on. Yeah, Tatum says awesome knows his shit, no doubt, but I think if we got to go to this length to debunk the debunk, it starts to get hazy. Well, that's the thing. Ultimately, it never ends, right? I mean, until we can somehow really push out this idea of what am I trying to say? The minute we can get to a point where there's a meta awareness, if it's actually true that we are all being lied to and there is a disclosure that you can't deny, then at least we have a little bit of solid ground. But until then, you can fucking play tennis with this shit all day long. And it's kind of a pain in the ass. All right, let me put another link up. If you want to call in, you're more than welcome to. In the meantime, we're going to switch gears to 9/11. 9/11 is one of those things that, I have read a lot about it. And there's nothing in my brain that would suggest to me that the government would not do it, right? Or would not either let it happen or would not do it if they could. Killing 300 to 3,100 people for the United States government, the powers that be, is absolutely small potatoes compared to other things that they've done in order to allow the powers that be hang on. Yeah, Psycho, you can't call in on there. You got to call in on the other one on the actual show. So they've done all kinds of shit that no one would be surprised about. Whether it's getting us into Vietnam under false pretenses, whether it's the Tuskegee experiments in Alabama, whether it's allowing lobbyists to help make legislation that keeps us sick because the food they serve us. A lot more people die than just 3,000 that died on 9/11. So I'm not saying, no, that's crazy. I'm not one of those guys. But every time I hear someone with a theory, it does seem kind of easy to debunk it. Like, this is one I was prepping for the show the other day, and I had never heard about the dancing Israelis. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And if you don't know, I'll read you the story briefly. The story is, on 9/11, a lady looked out her apartment window in New Jersey looking over the burning tower, the first one, and she saw 5 Middle Eastern looking men filming it, high-fiving and cheering. Now, this is not the dancing people on the rooftop. That's a different thing. She took them to be Arabic. She called the police. The police were eventually tracked them down, traveling in a white van. They were Israelis. They became known as the Dancing Israelis. They're a great group, by the way. They opened for the Blue Man Group in Vegas, at least through the summer, and you need to see them. They were arrested and kept in custody for 71 days until the ultra-Zionist head of the criminal division of the Justice Department, Michael Chertoff, released them. And how many people know the same Michael Chertoff released the 200 arrested in the spy ring, and they went back to Israel? They were known by the police to be Mossad agents, and they were there to document the event, which is weird because how would they know what happened, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, oh, this is fascinating. And then it turns out, well, there's no real proof of this. This is a relatively easy one, to debunk. Certain things in this happened, but the literal truth of this, is not something that you can point to, right? Another one is the free fall stuff. Everybody's kind of like talking about, it has to be a controlled demolition. And even though I do think it would be hard for the government to keep a secret of people who have planted bombs all throughout these buildings, is difficult to do, I still would go, okay, I buy it, if it's possible. I saw a movie once recently where, and I forget what it is, maybe you guys can help me with this, but in the movie, it might have been one of the Mission Impossible movies where the bad guys, or maybe, I don't know who it was, goes to an elevator shaft and they fire this, ballistic down from the top of the building elevator shaft to the bottom. And as it goes, every floor, it sends out these little sticky bombs. And that way they're putting basically explosives on every single floor. And then I'm like, okay, well, that's a way you could bring a building down through forced demolition, controlled demolition, without having to actually sneak people into the walls and plant explosives for months in advance. But again, this was 20 years after it happened. It was in a movie. But even the whole free fall thing, it's pretty easy to debunk, or not debunk. Okay. It's pretty easy to call into suspect the whole idea of this building was not a controlled demolition. People say, well, what about the poofs coming out the window? And it's like, well, yeah, but that was air as the top pancaked. This is a building on fire. And people say, well, buildings don't collapse that way unless it's a controlled demolition, right? This is a building on fire that collapses. Because all you have to do is just look up collapsing buildings from fire. And this one almost falls straight down. The reason the World Trade Centers, they say, fell straight down was because, it's so fucking heavy, and it was 110 floors, that once that momentum got started, a little bit of left, and since it was coming from the top, the weight pancaked it. And of course it went straight down because there was nothing to correct the momentum of anything other than straight down. And you can see, I've been looking up burning buildings collapsing, and even the building number 7. There's a lot of, I watched a great documentary on a guy in Alaska who was a physicist, and he was like, there's no way that building 7 came down because of fire. In the NIST report, which is the report that the government put together, there's a lot of suspect things in there and everything. But at the same time, though, if you go, well, this was a building 7, that had raging fires around it in various parts for 7 to 8 hours, and a lot of the building was damaged because of debris from the first 2 buildings, you go, oh, okay, that's that. Maybe that. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying that I need something better than that. Here's another one. Another one I hear a lot, which I always thought was very compelling, is, wait a minute, you old knucklehead. You're telling me that 9/11 demolished everything when those buildings came down and the heat and everything, but somehow they managed to find the passports of 2 of the terrorists. That's interesting. How'd that work? And I was like, yeah. But then I started looking it up, and I'm like, well, did they find anything else in the debris? There was a lot of shit in the debris that survived. I mean, there's a passenger guide from the airplane. There were badges. There was a clock. There was this book from one of the flight attendants. There was a lot of stuff. Here's coins and stuff that burned up, but they survived. There's a lot of stuff that did not disintegrate. And so, okay, well, that kind of takes the heat out of that one, right? And then there's 2 that make me feel. Oh, it is not Cheeseworks. No, it's not. He says, I have a relative that was killed in 9/11. This is pretty disrespectful. What's disrespectful about it? What a joke. I'm tired of that bullshit too. I'm sorry you had someone killed in 9/11. That's terrible. That's really terrible. But to go, are we being told the real story? And so far, all you've heard is me actually saying the real story sounds more plausible than the believer story. So what's disrespectful about it? That we're talking about it? The Pentagon stuff, what about it? What do you think was proven? And I mean, again, I'm not a defender of the government's line. I think the government's crooked and awful in most cases when it comes to stuff like this. But give me something to hang on to. And better than that, debunk this. I'm not choosing. You don't choose what to believe in the deep state. The evidence, if you are open-minded, tells you where to guides you towards the objective truth. What exactly do you need? I'm not choosing to believe that. What you're saying that I should look at if these coins are real? I'm choosing to believe that those are real. Well, yeah, because it's not hard to believe that it was found and it's in a museum. But if you have evidence to suggest that it's not, then great, offer it. Yeah, he says, how do you know it's evidence? Who told you? Those could be props. They could be. But where's the debunking of the props? Anything could be bullshit, but ultimately you come to a point where it's like, I've exhausted my leads and this is where it's coming out. I'll tell you, and more importantly, look at these two. Okay. Answer me this. Number one, a lot of people say that the reason, hello, Creeper Man. A lot of people say that the reason 9/11 was done was to get us into a war in Iraq. So we can go in for the oil, correct? Well, if that's the case, yeah, I have more tabs open than the floors on the building. That's right. If that's the case, then, and if they planted these passports, then why weren't they passports from Iraqis? Why go through all the trouble to make up weapons of mass destruction and have Colin Powell go in front of the UN with the vial and say, this is what Iraq has? Why not make sure that the evidence that they planted, according to people believe this, why would you not allow, it's kind of like the election was stolen bullshit. It's like, okay, I would buy people are crooked enough to steal an election, but if you're going to steal the presidential election and you're not going to stack the Senate to allow the president to have power, because you're not going to give him a supermajority, but you're willing to steal the presidency, but you're not willing to steal a couple of minor Congress seats and Senate seats. It doesn't track. Here's another one. What about the fact that, okay, why the planes? If this was a controlled demolition, we had a couple of years before this, we had terrorists detonate a bomb in the World Trade Center garage, and it went off. I don't know how many people died. It wasn't a massive explosion. It was a failure. But why not just say, they got us again, but this time they did it right? Why include the risk of a very necessarily difficult to pull off plan of getting 5 airliners to all hit at a certain time and get them hijacked and this and that and the other? Why do all of that if all you need to do is plant some fucking bombs? Like they did a couple of years prior. Right? That's all I'm fucking saying. Rain, that's there again. Rain says, look up the likes of Rupert Murdoch and other Zionist Israelis, billionaires that made profit out of the tragedy. I think what you're talking about is a few days before, a bunch of people shorted the stock of United and American Airlines. And people were like, see, this is, again, I am not a non-believer. I very much could easily believe the government did this. But I need some proof. Okay. So they shorted the stock and people were like, see, it's proof that they knew this was going to happen. They're in the shadow government. And so they used it to make a lot of money. Okay. Well then when it was looked into, the amount of shorting going on was just normal. Short stocks get shorted every day. It wasn't like the stocks that were shorted that day were, or a week or two before, if I remember correctly, it wasn't like those particular stocks were like, oh my God, this is a fucking red flag. It's like, no, there's nothing unusual about what was being shorted in the weeks up until. It's just that you look at it and you connect the dots going backwards and you go, oh, there must be a meaning. And there was. They were shorting stocks like they always do. It's just sad all of this would have been avoided with Mark Wahlberg's help. I know. He was awesome in that movie, man. So all I'm saying is, again, I'm not saying, like, my brother is a hardcore believer that it was an inside job. And he's a hell of a lot smarter than I am. But I need evidence, is all I'm fucking saying. So the phone is open. The lines are open. There's only one line, so that's open for the moment. If you want to call in and explain how I'm wrong, or explain if you agree, or if you've got a narrative about this, or what we were talking about earlier with the UAPs, the UFOs, there's the link for you right there. It really was, says Joker, just a convenient incident. I could maybe buy the government allowed it, but not caused it. I mean, I could buy both. Some of the trading I've seen, I have been able to predict incidents. Wild stuff, says Joker. Oh, I know you're joking. I'm saying I saw a movie the other day with Mark Wahlberg called The Family Plan, where he was this mild-mannered dad. But it turned out he had actually been an assassin for the government, and he was fucking badass in that movie. He could have stopped it. Maybe when we get to play Call of Duty, there's a rumor the new Call of Duty is going to have a 9/11 mission. I'm not sure if that's true, but it's true. There is a rumor, so we'll see. But yeah, there you go. Think what you will. But again, here's some other stuff though, right? Here's something that is true, that makes it totally believable that the government would bring down these buildings or allow them to come down. And I was blown away when I read this, and I had to fact check it as we all need to do these days. And it was true, which is apparently George Bush Sr. and Ronald Reagan's Secretary of State, Chief of Staff, who I think was Jim Baker. Apparently those guys were on the inside and Reagan was just kind of a puppet. And when Reagan was shot by, who shot Reagan? That guy, whatever. That guy's dad was friends and business colleagues and in the oil business with George Bush, the president. So how likely is it that the president has a friend in the oil business who has a son who the vice president has a friend in the oil business who has a son who goes on to assassinate or attempt to assassinate the fucking president? That doesn't just happen. John Hinckley, right. That does not just happen. So, is it possible that Bush and Jim Baker and a bunch of the oil guys in Texas wanted this and they would have done anything to get it? Absolutely. Fuck yeah, absolutely. But you got to come with something stronger than this. Sir, are you talking to me? Everything you can think of about 9/11 has been studied and we have evidence. I hate blanket statements like that on the internet. I hate it in live streams. I hate it in comment sections because it doesn't mean anything. It's kind of like follow the money, and somebody writes that and 50 people like it. Like, it's smart what he just said. Follow the money. To what? You follow it. You clearly know something. Just say it. It's amazing how many people like to write in cryptic horseshit bad B-movie thriller dialogue, but never actually back up anything with facts. Why would Dick Cheney and Bush organize 9/11? I didn't say Dick Cheney. When all they do now is go fly fishing and make watercolor paintings. How does invading Iraq get them more fish and better painting skills? Are you making an assumption that the reason they either let 9/11 happen or they were on the inside is because they wanted to go fishing and painting. I mean, you know, first off, Bush was probably a puppet to his father. So that's the answer there. Cheney's was in this kind of neo hawk or war machine group. But I couldn't tell you what those motivations are, but you could be right. You could be right. But what I know I'm right about is that there was a relationship between former President Bush, at the time Vice President Bush, and the guy's son who shot the president. Yeah, exactly. Dark Shadowy Place says Bush family makes money from war. I mean, that's the big thing. It's all about that shit, man. If it's okay for journalists to use unnamed, unvetted sources, then we all can. It's not okay for them to do that, though. Yeah, George W. Sr. is not only ex-CIA Lutron, he was the ex-head of the CIA. Jaffe, one episode says, William, you need to talk about Mandela effect. I will. I saw a new one today, by the way, and this is only going to hit adults, people older than me, you know, and kids of the 70s and 80s, I think. But the movie Moonraker was always on cable. It's a James Bond movie, if you don't know. It was always on cable. And in the movie, Jaws, who's the bad guy with the metal teeth, finally finds a girlfriend at the end of the movie. Thank you, Booty Toast. And you know, I was stunned to see a Mandela effect suggest that that the girl that he hooked up with at the end did not have braces. I'm like, that motherfucking woman had braces. She sure as fuck did. And that was what was funny about it. When Jaws smiled at her and she smiled and she had big braces. And now they're like, no, there were never any braces. And I saw a picture of it and there's no fucking braces. So I'm fucking telling you, Movie Maniac saw it, Egg PC saw it, were there braces or not? Right? Tatum says we saw it. He also says the WT Building 7 was a weird one. What caused the failure of every column at once? It was proved that it wasn't fire that didn't. It was not proved it wasn't fire that did it. The NIST report said it came from fires burning at various parts of the building for 7 or 8 hours. And it also came from when the buildings, the 2 towers came down, there were debris that did structural damage to it. And after 7 or 8 hours of fire, the building collapsed. Now, there's also a lot of really smart, not a lot, but there's a number of physicists that have done studies on the NIST report and say the NIST report is faulty, it's missing aspects, and I don't believe it. And maybe that's true. But you know, you got to say more than I just don't believe it. Give me some fucking proof. There's no proof. There's no proof any of it. You know, goddamn. I mean, you know, we got the fucking ex-president of the United States on trial. He could be in jail in a month, right? The idea that no one's going to come forward. No one's going to come forward about any of this that says, we got people coming forward about UFOs, people saying they're being killed because they're disclosing this shit. University of Alaska Engineering disputes the NIST report. Right. There's a great documentary on that. I think it might just be called 7. It's a great documentary on it. But you know, and maybe he's right. But at that point, the question is, okay, well, could somebody give us, then what are you saying? I know it's like, oh, we'll see, you know, see, it was an inside job. Was it? Where's that evidence? Show me a hint of that. Show me an email that you can't quite attribute to someone, or a whistleblower that comes forward and then dies. You got nothing. I'm not saying they're wrong. Notice the Mandela effect says Vitaphone was born of the internet. Wonder if it has something to do with memory isn't reliable. Getting billions of people together, patterns would obviously emerge. You're not wrong. And if, again, my mind is open, But you're not wrong. But, you know, if psychologists were to say, well, here's the reason that you think Holly was her name, if I remember correctly, and Moonraker had braces, even though she didn't, according to the new reporting and the visual. And it's a collective memory that was born out of XYZ. Or maybe it was in the trailer, but they took it out of the movie. I don't fucking know. But, you know, I remember it, but I agree that the human mind is faulty when it comes to memory. The steel beams did not snap. I mean, that is, you know, steel can't be weakened by that amount of heat. My understanding with the steel beams is that, this is the report. Is it true? Again, you may be right that it's not true what they're saying, but just saying what they're saying is suspect without offering not just like ideas, but actual evidence to your point, right? Because the official word on the steel beams is that the planes hit the World Trade Center. The fireproofing was demolished. The fireproofing may have worked in a normal fire, but in the explosions and the impact, the fireproofing that surrounded and insulated aspects of the building, most of it was rendered useless almost immediately. So then the beams over a couple of hours at a very high temperature did not bend and sag to a degree that some people have said, but the structural integrity was significantly damaged. And all of that weight from like floor, whatever it was, 96 on or above it to 110 was enough to get it going. And there you go. I mean, and I'm showing you buildings that are collapsing in what look like free fall that are on fire. And there was no planes that crashed into those. So I don't know. Okay. I may regret this, but I'm going to bring in P Turtle for a few minutes. P Turtle, it's Jaffe. What's up?
What's up, Jaffe? Yo, can you not see me in the chat?
Yes, but I see everybody in the chat. I'm like, Jesus.
I mean, I said the same thing like 3 times to you. I think I've earned the right for you to respond to me.
Yeah. We'll get to parasocial relationships in a little bit. What do you want to talk about, P Turtle?
I can't stay now. It had me take forever. But just look up...
You got to pick up your girlfriend? School's out?
No, just look at Lucky Larry Silverstein. I'm telling you, if you look it up...
I'm looking it up right now. Hang on.
Hurry up. I don't have much time.
Lucky Larry Silverstein.
I can't believe you've done research about all this. You've never even looked into Lucky Larry Silverstein.
Well, before I even look at my screen, is this the real estate guy that bought the World Trade Center, took out a loan, took out insurance?
Before it went down. Yeah, right.
Okay, but let's see. Okay. I'm going to say, okay, so what P Turtle is talking about, while I'm doing a little research, P Turtle, tell them the theory behind Lucky Larry.
Well, he took out insurance out of the building that was worth like, what was it?
But he owned the building, right? He was one of them.
Took insurance out a few months before. It was like, what? Like way more than he paid for it. And he never, the craziest thing ever is this guy never missed a day of work. He had breakfast there every day. And all of a sudden, the towers go down. That was the day he decided I'm not showing up for work.
Okay, can I read you? Tell me what you think about this. I'm just going to read you something relatively briefly, all right?
Okay.
Conspiracists focus not only on the Israeli-owned company's alleged involvement, but the Jewish owners that the World Trade Center stood to gain. The conspiracy goes to the heart of the myth of the greedy Jew who will do anything to get rich. According to the theory, Jewish businessmen, in an effort to obtain millions in insurance money, plotted to destroy the World Trade Center. The implication is that their inside knowledge of the complex allowed them to help the Mossad execute the plan. Yeah. It was a few weeks before 9/11 in July 2001 that Larry Silverstein, a real estate dev who already owned 7 World Trade Center, signed a 99-year lease on the whole complex. His company partnered with Westfield America to oversee the complex, as well as the shopping concourse underneath. This was the first time the Trade Center had changed hands since the Port Authority of New York in the 70s. Okay. After the attack, far-right publications were quick to see something sinister in the deal. A conspiracy-oriented publication claimed that Silverstein wanted the building destroyed so he could collect millions in insurance. The American Free Press reported that Frank Lowy, described as an Israeli businessman from Australia in charge of Westfield, had insured the shopping concourse against terrorist attacks and now stood to gain a tremendous amount of money. Okay. Writing in American Free Press, Christopher blah, blah, blah also reported Louis Eisenberg, the former chairman of the PA, arranged Silverstein and Lowry's 99-year lease, and both of them are key supporters of Israel, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now there's the theory that 4,000 Israelis were told to stay home.
Yep, not one. There was only one Jewish person that died that day. When the towers went down, and that was Pete Davidson's dad. That's the only Jewish person that died, and they gave birth to Pete Davidson, which is damn near worse than 9/11.
Okay, well that's okay. So I'm trying. Let me debunk this now that we know what we're talking about. Assuming it can be debunked. I mean, maybe you're right.
Yeah,
maybe you're right.
There's a book about this.
There's a book about everything.
But do you know who David Icke is?
No.
You don't know David Icke? What kind of conspiracy guy are you?
I'm not. I'm looking for truth in all the wrong places. I don't give a fuck about conspiracies. I just want to know what's going on.
Jaffe, you come to me.
Yeah, exactly. Please.
Listen, I can't even stay. I gotta go. But thank you.
Yeah, sure you do. Anytime, buddy. Call back. I'm gonna get to the bottom of this Larry thing real quick though.
Thank you. Man.
Yep. Because I don't believe this has not been debunked. What are you talking about? There's a guy in the chat, Marone86. Jaffe, for your own sake, please stop believing any and everything you hear from mainstream news. I don't. But I don't also, let's put it this way. Am I more skeptical of some random source on the internet that says, just believe me, than I am of Dan Rather, or not that he's mainstream anymore, but of people who went to school that genuinely love journalism and want to do good work? Yeah, I'm still going to be more suspicious of that. People like P. Turtle. But I'm not an idiot. Of course, it's a business. And even if journalists don't want to report bullshit, their bosses sometimes make them. So what? It's terrible. But what do you I'm trying to find, this is so terrible. Okay, let's see. Okay, I want to find this narrative thing about this guy. And maybe I need to do the research on this and get back, but okay. I will do a little research, even though the next show we will not focus on 9/11. My guess is it probably wouldn't take too much time and effort to debunk the Jews sold the building or bought insurance and because they knew this was going to happen. I mean, I don't put it past people. Again, like I said, whether it was just a coincidence or whether he did know it was going to happen, it's a believable narrative, not because he's Jewish, by the way. That you got to take the Jew part out of it. That's just, pull your anti-Semitism out of your butthole and stop being an asshole for a minute and just go, is it possible that someone had advanced information on 9/11 because people knew it was going to happen and it was allowed to happen? Sure. Totally possible. But, where's the proof? Where's the evidence? Can I link the beam snapping? You just tell me what to type. You can't do any links. For some reason, it doesn't let people link. I don't know what kind of insurance. I mean, it was millions of dollars, hundreds of millions. I don't know what it was. I'm sure I'll find that when I do some research. But I don't have beliefs. This is the problem with the internet and people like you, Moron86. I mean, it's in your name, isn't it? Which is, you obviously don't listen before you open your mouth. I don't have a dog in the fight other than truth. I believe our government is more than capable of pulling off 9/11 as an inside job or letting it happen because they knew that it was going to happen. I just need proof of it. But you choose to paint people who don't goose step in with the narrative as like, oh, you're just an idiot that believes the mainstream. And I'm like, I'm just looking for some facts. I'm not going to search debunking 9/11 conspiracies one at a time. Oh, it's the first video. Okay. Let me bring that up. All right. So I type in this, and then we're going to move off 9/11, unless somebody wants to call in with their own views. Debunking, because you know what I think. 9/11 conspiracies, YouTube. Okay, here's the link if you want to call in and contribute your wisdom and intelligence. How the Truth or Conspiracies Fueled the War on Terror. Is that the one? Is that what it's called, from the Washington Post? Maybe not. Let's see. Debunking 9/11. I'm gonna look this up one more time, and then I got to move on. People get bored of shit like this. Not the video, but watch me research in real time. Hang on. Okay. The 5 biggest 9/11 conspiracy theories debunked forever. 4 minutes and 17 seconds. All right. Let's see. Hang on a second. Okay. So these are conspiracies that have been debunked, is what you're saying. So, Serve, you believe what? The moon landing, I do not believe, was a hoax. But if there's evidence of it, it wouldn't surprise me. But I don't know. I do not believe it's a hoax. Jaffe's like a grifter. I literally, you fucking degenerate, you 4th grade dropout. I literally have spent the last 45 minutes talking about the University of Alaska and the documentary of the movie called Seven about how people think the NIST report is horseshit. I bring that up to suggest I don't believe the official story just because it's the official story. And you, with the education of an inner tube that was raised in the Appalachian Mountains in the 1800s, I don't know, fuck you, come in here and want to paint me with a brush that doesn't fucking exist. Go fuck yourself. It's the Department of Physics in Alaska. It's a great documentary. It's on Amazon. It's very compelling. But, you know, it's not so compelling. All they're saying is we don't think it would work this way. Okay, here we go. Let's watch just a couple seconds. Okay. Oh, you can't see it. Sorry. Okay, so here we go. Oh shit!
Panic.
I'm sorry.
The weakened steel.
Here you go.
Not,
here you go.
However, jet fuel.
Sorry,
a lot of memes. It's nonsense. No, jet fuel cannot melt steel beams. Jet fuel burns up to 1500 degrees Fahrenheit, while steel melts at around 2500 degrees. However, steel does begin to lose strength at around 600 degrees Fahrenheit, and with the weight above the impact point on the North Tower similar to that of the Titanic, the weakened steel simply could not hold, and the tower collapsed. Number 2.
So what's the problem? I'm not saying you're right or wrong, but is that guy lying? That the integrity of the steel beams loosened, and ultimately that, along with the destruction of the fire retardant that was damaged and destroyed when the buildings got hit. Again, I'm not saying it couldn't have been a fucking inside job, but you got to offer something. That's the wrong video. Well, then I'm sorry. Look, man, of course it's the wrong video. So which one would you like me to watch? Here they are, Serve. Saying everything is mainstream media is bullshit is a shortcut to believing whatever you want to believe. Right, exactly. And while we're waiting for Serve to somehow explain to me what the fuck I'm supposed to be looking at, let's be clear. about something. And I'm not advertising, but I would if they paid me. Ground News is where you should go. Seriously. If you want to know how serious I take wanting to get the truth as best as possible, this is a great source. This is not an advertisement. Again, like I said, I'd be more than happy to shill for these guys. I adore this service. But this is a site that has a number of third-party sites that determine left, right, or center, and then they also have their own folks who do it. They tell you what stories the right is not reporting on, what stories the left is not reporting on, what your own personal blind spots are. They also will tell you when you go into certain news sources. If you say, okay, I want to look up the world's best countries for tourism. I wouldn't want to look that up, but let's look it up. And it's like, oh, this is high factuality. They lean right. Okay. And it tells you this media company, media conglomerate owns this company. So be careful reading it if it seems like what they're saying seems very pro in regards to who owns the site. Okay. So let's be clear, moron, whatever your name is. I want the truth, and it doesn't have to come from mainstream media, but the elements that define the truth don't change. They can come from anywhere, and they can be poorly handled by certain businesses, some of which are in the mainstream news. But ultimately, though, wherever the data is coming from, they need to back it up with evidence.
Sign up for Tracy Jordan.
Oh, yeah. Alexa, stop. It's a great website. It's a great website. What about the policeman saying run because World Trade Center 7 was about to blow up? I mean, tell me what to look up. I haven't seen that. My guess would be it's kind of not how you're describing it. My biggest question is the accuracy in which they struck the buildings. Absolutely, Lutron. Absolutely. There again, I read a book recently, which is the guy who wrote the book. I talked about this on a previous show. The guy who wrote the book was hang on, let me change the screen. Was a ex-Air American pilot. Okay, and he was basically going, look, man, it took me years to learn this 600-page manual of how to fly a passenger plane. I've been flying Cessnas and all these things since I was a kid. This is not something you can learn on Microsoft Flight Simulator in a couple of fucking lessons. You got to be a fucking trained pilot. Now, could they have hired trained pilots? Sure, but that's not the narrative. And this guy goes into all kinds of, there's a base in Arizona where they teach black ops to fly these big fucking planes and all this shit. And the book gets published in 2007, I think. And a week after the book is published, he's dead. The guy who wrote it. His teenage daughter and teenage son are dead. And his dog is dead. All of them with bullet holes to the brain. And the official word is that he killed himself, or killed his family, then shot himself. It's possible. It's possible. But again, I'm not defending the official stance of 9/11. I'm simply fucking saying, it's not even that though. Adversary 1 says it's not like they had to learn how to land. Well, it's not even that. It's not about landing the plane. At least according to this guy who, has experience that I don't have flying actual commercial planes. He said, when I was in the simulation at first for these planes, I was crashing it all the time because it's not that it's hard to do once you understand it, but there's so much you've got to focus on. All right, William, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for hanging out with us. Jaffe, there's a lot going on with 9/11. What's the Alex? That's the whole show so far. So, okay, let me make sure I got this. 1 second. Jaffe says, "Living legend." Thank you, buddy. He says, "What is your take on HARP weather engineering?" I don't know much about it. I've been wanting to look into it. My understanding is you're talking about where they like seed clouds, or they kind of bounce electrons off the ocean and they reflect up into the clouds to cause it to rain or something. And then China's got, I mean, look, I believe it's ludicrous that we don't know what's going on. Like, we can't control the weather, at least to some degree yet. So I know we're all working on it, but I don't know specifically. What is wrong with you? You're just a troll, but that's okay. You offer content, so I'll use you. I will use your idiocy to make money for me. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Not you, Gun. Yes, Flight 93 did crash. It did. He says, Jaffe wants the truth, but instantly disbelieves people who call themselves truthers because they want the truth. Really? I instantly disbelieve them? Show me evidence that I instantly disbelieve this. Show me evidence that I say that the truthers may not be right, or that I say I always say the truthers. It wouldn't surprise me if it was an inside job. But where's the evidence? What do you want? What do you want? Accept my attention. Think about how pathetic that is, moron. Think how pathetic that is. You're willing to come on here and lie and troll just to get my attention. Are you lonely? I understand. That's okay. Nothing wrong with being lonely. But you got to be making efforts to push through that loneliness and build a life for yourself you can be happy with. Because this ain't it. Me calling you out on the show and giving you a little bit of an adrenaline boost, a little bit of a dopamine hit is fine, but you can't sustain on that. So come on, moron, get your shit together. As I understand, when you're flying a plane, says Movie Maniac, you're in constant communication with different air control people. Yeah, but they did shut that off. Okay. The administration at the time was pretty incompetent. I would be surprised they could do something that complicated. Well, the administration isn't necessarily always the administration, right? Bush, if somebody were to say that Bush the second was a puppet to his dad and Jim Baker, I go, yeah, it makes pretty sense. That makes pretty good sense. Okay. I get moron. No shit. Moron says, look up Operation Mockingbird. The U.S. literally hires journalists to push the narrative they want. Yeah, no shit. And they also can go to movie studios and try to get them to sell their message. It's called propaganda. And they also go to social media companies. And even though it's against the First Amendment, but not so against it that they can be called on it and caught, they also influence through legislation companies like Meta and Apple and all these other companies to do the things that they want in order to push their agenda. You're not offering wisdom. You think you're offering like some kind of vision into the truth that the government is corrupt? What are you talking about? No shit. Is what I would say. All right. Well, there's the link if you want to call. In the meantime, let's move on to a different topic, my delightful friends. My delightful friends. What do we got coming up next? Wait, Serve, did you want me to look at something? Wait, that's the wrong thing. Hang on, that's not what you need. You can't call in with that. Did I get your thing, Serve? All right, there's the I don't know if that's the one. Hang on, let me give you another one. That one might be broken. No, that works. That should work for you. Okay. Now you can't find it. Well, where am I looking? Tell me again what to type. I'll type it one more time. I have debunking 9/11 conspiracies on YouTube is what I have. But that's not what we wanted, right? 9/11 conspiracy theories, ridiculous. The windowless skyscraper conspiracy. What am I looking up? Happy to look it up. If not, no worries. We'll move on. What do we got next up on the docket, boys? Oh, here's one. We're gonna get to some non-debunk stuff because I am telling you, I like believing in this stuff. I want to believe in this stuff, but I got to debunk two more quick things, and then we'll get to some stuff that seems like it's actually real, and that'll at least be a nice way to talk about things that aren't so fucking, because I like aliens and shit. I want to believe in that shit. But anyway, all right, well, we'll move away from 9/11 for a moment, and we'll talk about, here's something that came across my media feed this week, and I was like, that's a hell of a story. In 2017, 40-year-old James Mack got 37 plastic surgeries and got his name changed to Jason Monroe just to date his ex-girlfriend after she filed a restraining order. Here's a picture of him. Let's see. Here we go. There he is. This is what he looked like. Changed himself to look like this, right? Unfortunately, though, because it's a great story, it didn't happen. Totally not true, right? That's debunked. They always take all the fun away. Okay, debunking 9/11 conspiracies. Let me get this here real quick just to make sure, because I want to make sure. Debunking 9/11 conspiracies, one at a time. Okay. Is this the one? This has got to be the one, right? Which one are we looking at? Okay. To support the controlled demolition theory, conspiracy theorists attack the official NIST report by insisting that fire doesn't melt. Okay, let me read this again. Okay. To support the controlled demo theory, conspiracy theorists attack the NIST report by insisting fire doesn't melt steel. Okay. This is a straw man argument. The NIST report does not, nor did it ever make the claim that the steel melted. What NIST does claim is that the fires were sufficient to weaken the steel to the point of structural failure. To understand the structural failure, it's important to understand the structure of the real. Okay, so basically, it's what we're saying. That yeah. It shows it happen. Well, we've talked a lot about it. I think we get it now. Yeah. Here we go. Fires concentrated at the northeast corner. And then it basically melts. And then it loses its integrity and it falls. We get it. Yeah, no, I'm with you. So you agree it's corrupt, yet insist 9/11 is one thing they don't lie about. I didn't say they don't lie about it. I said that right now, if you're going to say they're lying, offer something that can't be easily disproven. No one is suggesting that this is a problem with people like you. You're so dogmatic on your meta argument, which is the government's corrupt, which they are, that you allow that to color everything. And in that, you miss the truth. Nothing is black and white. That's not true. Some things are black and white. But in this case, the government can be corrupt. The government can be willing to do awful things to its citizens to benefit the 1%. But it doesn't mean that just because you offer up an idea that the government is corrupt without any proof that we have to believe it or we're sheep. This is what I'm saying. All right. Last thing that got debunked this week, which bothers me. I fucking love science. Fucking bought in on this. Hair-raising human head transplant machine concept unveiled by startup, but is it realistic? This has been going around the internet. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it basically is showing a startup where they're using robotics and AI, which is whatever. But they're using new technology to take a head off a damaged body, put it on a donor body of someone who's young and maybe died of brain cancer, vegetable, but their body was working fine. And so there was a lot of real science stories about this is interesting, but we're far from this and that and the other. And this is fucking debunked. This was financed by a guy. What does he do? This guy does, it says it was, the video project was bankrolled by this guy who is a founder of In Silico Medicine, an AI drug discovery company, which is a prominent figure in anti-aging research. He posted the video on his LinkedIn account. Commenters noticed it was his face and the two bodies. So it's not that he's saying he wouldn't like to have a company like this. He just was kind of seeding it out there to see what the response was. And people covered it. People fucking covered it. And believed it like it was a real fucking thing. I mean, I get it, right? Because, you know, the guy who went to Musk and said, hey, fix my body. I can't use my hands. That motherfucker controls a computer faster than I do with his fucking mind. It's impressive as shit. And they said that even though the wires retracted this last week, they fixed it and made his interface even faster. I saw him playing chess with his fucking mind. Assuming that's not a conspiracy, assuming that's real, that's pretty good. And again, like the scientist at, and I wouldn't sign up because I don't trust Musk as far as I can throw him. But the scientist at, what is it called? Neuralink said, yeah, that's why we run trials. Because people were like, see, it didn't work. They're like, yeah, it's a trial. We're going to have, the whole point is we're learning what works and what doesn't and best practices. So eventually we can put it, on the market. So, you know, I know why people would believe this because we're starting to get close to this. There was a dude in the 70s literally took a brain out of a monkey. This is real. American scientist. Took a brain out of a fucking monkey, put it in another monkey. That brain came alive. I mean, think about this. The brain functioned in the body of another fucking monkey without a brain. The monkey could smell, look around, eat, and even kind of, you know, bite at the experimenters. Couldn't move its body, though. They didn't have any way to connect the spinal column. They still don't. But, I mean, this is, you know, and there's a guy last year that said he moved to China where the limitations were less because he wants to do a head transplant. So, you know, I believe this is, of course, where we're going. I mean, do you understand that 100 years ago, the idea of open heart surgery? Are you kidding? You can't reroute blood from different places to get to the heart. What are you talking about? Organ transplants, you couldn't do. People were like, you can't take this guy's fucking heart or liver or kidney and put it in another body. What, do you got rocks in your head? And it's just normal now. It's not, I mean, again, a heart attack's a big deal, but it ain't what it used to be. A lot of people survive heart attacks because we've come really far. So I'm just saying that, you know, let's, you know, I don't shame people who fell for this particular bullshit, the head transplant, but it sucks it wasn't real, that we're not there yet. Jaffe, did you get to Marsupilami for $2? I didn't, and I appreciate you. I looked it up. I saw it. I put it in my shopping cart on Steam, and I got busy, and I went back like 2 days later, and it had gone back up to $20. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I'm playing so much, I'll get it the next time it drops price. Okay. When you take a person's organ, you become that person. To some extent. I mean, to some extent. Right? I mean, it really comes down to sort of what is consciousness. And there, you know, even if you were to do a head transplant, there's a lot of people that say gut bacteria is a second brain, and your behavior and a lot of the way you see the world and view your existence is meaningfully affected by gut bacteria as much as it is your actual brain. And so you take somebody's head and put it on somebody else's body, who knows if you're going to get the same result? You know, yeah, we had a guy get a pig's liver. That's right. That's right. Well, yeah, Eternal says you can't keep someone alive long enough to detach their head and then put it on a new body. I know. but that's why they're saying it's like this is possible eventually, but we can't do it yet. We also can't reconnect the almost the seemingly infinite number of connections and spinal column connections to make the person actually move. But they did it with the monkey with the brain, but the body didn't move, but the head moved. So where did that go? I wanted to read that. The Good Doctor finale had Jaffe do a deep dive on medical research. Fuck you. That was a good emotional ending. I liked it. Fuck you. Hey, there he is. Daniel Crawford, my nephew. He says it would be so wild to see someone be made into a centaur. There is, believe it or not, Daniel, there is in Japan, there's something they call, or Americans called the Chimera Law. But in the 90s, they relaxed the they relaxed the restrictions on taking eggs and or sperm from a human and putting it in an animal. It doesn't mean they're going around doing it all day long, but animal-human hybrids are certainly super fucking fringe. But there's a whole history of people trying it. So why do I call that grown man your nephew? Because my sister popped him out of her vagina. What other reason would I call him my nephew for? I mean, he could have had a cesarean. Could have been a cesarean. He could have come out that way. They'll figure it out, says Adversary. I can talk to people through my watch. That was science fiction 30 years ago. What we're doing right now is science fiction. When I was a kid, there were 3 goddamn networks on the television show. Now, anybody who wants can sit there and not only have their own television studio, but it's interactive. So you goddamn right. That's that, all these fucking people who want to hold shit back because they're fucking terrified. Get with the program, you fucks. Jaffe a boomer. Jaffe Gen X, bitch. Jaffe cut you and burn you in your sleep. Okay, let's move on, shall we? Living Legends, thank you, buddy. He says, I saw an interesting documentary where a heart transplant caused the recipient to have a different personality. Could our heart hold more secrets? Possibly. I mean, it was how well researched was this documentary? Was it a documentary that was going out of its way to sell that narrative, or was it a documentary that said, this is what he claimed, and maybe it's true, but it's also possible he was having some kind of schizophrenic or psychological break. But yeah, I don't know. Isn't it true that Darwin preserved a piece of vermicelli, I don't know what that is, in a glass case until by some means it began to move with voluntary motion? Oh, I see. Isn't that called like a homunculoid or something like that? I assure you, blah, I have no desire to be Alex Jones. Ugh. Okay. All right, let's move forward. Okay, now we're going to get into the real, okay? Never seen a UFO. Wish I had, never have. I'll tell you what we're going to do. What time is it? 8 o'clock, 8:30. We're going to take a 2-minute, I'm going to get a Coke. I'm going to take a 3-minute break, see how bad shitting in the house has been. We're going to come back. We'll do more of your calls. If you want to call and jump on and share whatever you want to talk about related to this stuff or the topics coming up, you can. There's the link. And then after that, we will continue. We're going to get into some really cool modern weaponry that is being used right now. We're also going to talk about a weapon I had never heard of until a couple of days ago that is the real deal that will let you assassinate people without getting caught. It's pretty fucking cool. So we will be back in 3 minutes. Hello, Nathan. Let me put up this screen real quick. That's not the screen, you old so-and-so. Hang on. All right. Back in 3, fellas. actually, I'm going to take the dog out. So I'll be back in a second. 10 minutes. 10-minute break now. All right. Start back up in 2 minutes. All right, well, fellas and fleddies, we're back. Had to take the dog out for a pooper poo-poo, and that's done now. So, let me get us back and running here. Well, that's not right. Hang on. There you go. Okay. Here we go. Maybe. What's going on? What? One sec, fellas. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Could not figure out what the fuck was up. Welcome back to the show. Good to see everybody. I'm waiting just to finish this. Okay. All right. Welcome back. Good to see everybody. Thank you for waiting. Ace had to go out and go to the potty, and, you know, it is what it is. Jaffe, I'm heading out. Got lawns to cut in the morning. All right, Saint X Rage. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. So, again, if you want to call in, I see that Psycho was trying to call in, but again, you got to call in on the Discord. I'm not hooked up to get you from, not the Discord. You got to call in on here on the link I just put up. I can't bring you in on this setup on the Discord, but I'll get that back to normal soon. Anyway, so let's talk about this for a minute. I want to talk about weapons now. We've been talking about debunking a bunch of shit, which always makes me sad. I want things to be true, as I said. Well, here's some things that are true. I was very surprised to learn about this weapon. This weapon was created, or at least led by, a woman who, when she was 18, the CIA pulled her out of high school and said, "Hey, come on over here, lady." And she worked at sort of an offshoot or an earlier version of MK Ultra, which, if you don't know, MK Ultra was a group of experiments done by the CIA in the 60s and 70s with LSD and all kinds of things, and with the goal of astral projection and mind control and things like that. And a lot of these things didn't really pan out, although there were a lot of great research data that came down the line regarding psychedelics, which is nice. But she worked at a thing called MK, not MK Ultra, but MK Naomi. Highly secretive program dedicated to crafting biological weapons for the U.S. Cold War. Okay, so, and this actually this came after. Yeah, this came after Ultra. Okay. So anyway, though, here's the most famous thing she ever made. And we know it's true because after Watergate, Congress said, we need to see all the shit you're working on. And so she showed it to him. Listen to what this thing is. You may have heard about this. It's a heart attack gun. What? It is a heart attack gun is what I said. Here's how it works. They took shellfish toxins. It'll kill you. Shuts down the cardiovascular system in concentrated doses. They froze it with a little bit of water, and they made projectiles, little pellets or darts that were basically ice, but it was ice made of water and shellfish toxins. And you could shoot people with it, and there was just a little red dot where the dart enters the body. It's undetectable for the most part if you don't know what you're looking for. And the target's lying there paralyzed because the minute the thing gets into his fucking body, the dart, it dissolves, it melts with the body's heat. And the shellfish toxins are released, and it basically shuts his heart down. It looks like a heart attack. You never know what actually killed him. There's zero evidence if they did or did not actually use this on an official op. They say that it was tested on animals and prisoners to, quote, great effect. And I'll show you what it looks like. This is the hearing from 1975, and this is what happened to Jim Ryan. That's right. This is when the congressmen and senators got to play around with that. Whoops. This is the actual heart attack gun that was shown by the CIA. And at the time, the American government had been stockpiling shellfish toxins, and they had the biggest supply of it of anyone in the world. And people were like, why do you have all that? Like, well, have you seen our gun? It's pretty good. It's a pretty good deal. It's a pretty good idea. Kid gets pulled out of high school, come work for the CIA. She makes this fucking crazy motherfucking thing. There's a series in that. That's like the start of Q in James Bond. That's who Q actually was based on. But anyway, I like stuff like that. I don't want any innocent people to die, but at the same time, if you got to do the wet work and you're doing it for the right reasons, if there ever are right reasons, it's pretty cool to have a weapon like that. Speaking of weapons, though, my little friends, look at this. China wanted to show everybody their new war machines. This is one of those dogs we've seen from Boston Dynamics. I'm sure Boston Dynamics didn't actually make it. They got their own group over there that's making it. They're making all kinds of things in China right now. You know, over there, they don't, I'm not even fucking with you. They don't even have Chat GPT. They have Chat Xi something. It's like GPT, but Xi, President Xi. It's all done to push the People's Republic of China socialist agenda. And so you can't train it on any English models. They say it like represents President Xi as a person, like 80%. It's crazy. But anyway, this is one of those Boston Dynamics style dogs, but it's from China with machine guns on it, right? It's pretty amazing. Now, I mean, you do have to wonder with shit like this, or I wonder when I see shit like this, is I kind of go, okay, we do this so we keep the soldiers safe. And I get that, and I appreciate that. But eventually, once the robots destroy each other, aren't we just prolonging the inevitable? Eventually, it goes back to humans with guns, unless their robots are better than ours. But, you know, we have this shit too. But anyway, I'm going to show you a bunch of weapons. Not a bunch, but about 10 fucking weapons that are pretty fucking cool. This is from a Twitter account called Helpful AI. U.S. and China are the robot kings. They say, here are some robots used in war that will be used in war. Look at this one. If you're listening and not looking, I advise you to look up at your device. But if not, I'll describe it. It looks like a goddamn... I mean, it's a biped, humanoid-looking robot with a gun. And I don't know. It's just got a big box in the center and an eye or a couple of sensors where the eyes would be here, here, and here. And it's holding a pistol. This is based on a actual weapon. Here's another one. It's not AI. It is absolutely not AI. This is one we saw. This is the Ripsaw M5. It's basically a, I believe this is remote. Yeah, it's a remote operated tank. It maneuvers silently. It's very lethal. It can dispatch drones. It can go over all kinds of terrain. It can run you over. It can fire shit at you. And you can actually put people in there if you want to. But this is out now. This is a remote control fucking tank. Look at that fucking thing. Now look at this one. We've seen this. We've already seen the dog robot, right? This is one that they use to transport mines or remove mines. The Yak robot. China has developed an electronically powered quadruped robot to support military operations. So here it is in motion. Like kind of what we just saw. I mean, this is insane. Can you imagine being out on the battlefield? I mean, I can't even imagine being on the battlefield. But I mean, one of these things comes at you. I assume a grenade would blow it up. I mean, I would assume that as cool as they are, even if they have a machine gun, they're not like indestructible. They probably, I mean, how fast can it get away from a fucking grenade? I don't know, but they're using them for something. You know the guy, you remember the guy that went up to the parking deck in Dallas, I think it was, somewhere in Texas, and he started sniping the cops, and he was holed up in the parking deck and they didn't know how to get him out. You know what they finally ended up doing? They got a little remote control robot and they put a bunch of fucking explosives on it. And it just rolled towards him and they just detonated it. They just killed him. Look at this. This is insane, man. The Black Hornet, 33 grams. Look how tiny this is. This is a fucking drone. This is a fucking drone. Look at that, you guys. Come on. That is the shit, man. I want one of those. And do you ever see that movie? There's a movie about drones. I forget what it was called. It was decent. But in the movie, they had an insect drone. And those exist too. But it was flying around a Middle Eastern village. And the guy who was controlling it had to be relatively close by. But he was controlling it and it snuck into a terrorist building they were using. And you wouldn't know it because it looked like a fucking, I don't know, some kind of insect that blends in. I don't know what kind of insects they have there. It's pretty fucking cool. But this is great. This is the Black Hornet. Swarms of AI drones. Recent footage emerged showing, look at this. This is from DARPA, right? Now maybe it's true that the birds are actually robots, but look at that. AI is controlling all that shit. I mean, it's crazy. NYPD has announced that they're going to be sending drones out on their missions now. They're sending drones out before the cops show up on the scene to make sure it's safe, or to kind of get a lay of the land. Let's see how much a Black Hornet would cost. How much Black Hornet drone costs? Maybe we'll kickstart and buy one. $124. No, this is the real one. The United States, $200,000. Although the Army was seeking a mini drone for use by individual squads, the individual handmade Black Hornet was seen as too expensive for large-scale deployment, with a unit costing as much as $200,000. It's pretty cool, though. Look how tiny. Look how tiny. Look at that little fucking thing, man. Look at that little fucking thing. Look at that little fucker. Not too bad. Well, shit, that ain't nothing compared to those drones show places do with... Oh, well, yeah, drone lights now. I mean, fireworks are a thing of the past. In Anaheim, the Angels baseball team did a Star Wars day on May the 4th, and it was the entire movie of Star Wars. I mean, it wasn't, every frame, but it was all the big moments of the very first Star Wars movie done with animating drones in the sky. It was here. I'll show you real quick and we'll move on. But check this out. Anaheim Star Wars celebration baseball drones. I'm not going to show you the whole thing because it's long. Look at this fucking thing, though.
Oh, yeah.
No, dude, there it is. Here it is. Come on, do something. There's the Death Star. There's Vader. Come on, man. Look, I mean, that's awesome. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, it's just crazy. And they just animate once the shape comes into place. I just wish it was a little faster. Look at me. It's like Louis C.K. was like, yeah, you non-contributing zero. It's like, oh, my cell phone's not fast enough. It's like, give it a minute. It's going into space. Look how much I'm complaining, but it's really fucking cool. There's Luke. Come on. Oh, here, look at that. Anyway, all right, let's move on. All right. Let's move on to the next story, shall we, fellas and flatties? I want to ask you a question. I want to do a little trivia. It's only one trivia question, but here it is. When you die, if you choose to get buried, what is the first insect that will begin to eat you and fuck with you and just begin to gnaw on you? I was very surprised to learn the answer to this. No, that's what I thought. It's not a worm and it's not maggots. No. I don't know what a woodlouse is, but no. I'll give you one more guess in the chat, and I'll just tell you. An ant, no. Or a gopher, no. It is a fly. It is a fucking fly. Bigger than a housefly. They are called, they go by the name coffin flies, but they are the hardest workers when it comes to tracking down, it says, dead dinner. Blowflies, Eternal got it. That's right. From I Fucking Love Science. They can burrow through soil up to 7 feet to reach buried corpses, and they deposit their eggs. Corpses that have been buried for as long as 18 years before they were exhumed have shown signs of coffin fly occupation, and their preserved remains have even been found in Roman burial sites. So flies come up first. They can smell dead bodies up to 5 miles away. They burrow down. They get there first. They lay their eggs in your corpse. And then you start getting other kinds of flies. And then the other kind of bugs you guys were talking about show up. So I'm going to tell you something, though. No to that. I think, just like I think civilized people no longer wipe their butts, they get bidets. And if not, you're a heathen and you'll go to hell. And eventually you'll be replaced by people who are, evolved like myself. I think in 100 years, we're all going to look back and we're going to go, no. Burying a body, that is so nasty. It is so gross. You put it in an oven, you burn it up. Why would you not? Why would you not? The Vikings had it right at the very beginning. There's no way after reading, I was never going to get buried anyway. But there's no way after reading this, I'm going to fucking go into the goddamn coffin with fucking bugs and shit. Go fuck yourself. Why would you do that? And they you have your body eaten, and then you got to think, because the real issue is you got to think about your loved ones down there. And I've gotten over it, but I've talked about this before on some streams. My parents are both dead. They both got buried. At some point, there was a moment that I was alive for where there were like bugs crawling in my dad's butthole and eating his penis off and crawling into his eye and going into his brain and eating up the parts of his brain that had the memories of, his kids being born. No, thank you. Fuck you. No, thank you. Fuck you. I don't like it. Let it become a part of the earth and help fertilize the ground. I'll leave some money behind to buy some fucking fertilizer at Home Depot. Thank you very much. That's how I'll help. I don't need to be eaten. I don't need my children to be thinking of their pop being eaten by fucking bugs. No, it's not happening. And it shouldn't happen to you. You should have just been educated, and you should say, no, I'm done. That plan, I'm calling my lawyer in the morning. I'm changing my will. The earth wants your body, Jaffe. The earth can go fuck itself then, is what I'll say. Listen to this. Speaking of bodies, though, let's get into some bodies. Let's get into some bodies. Let's talk about penises. Seriously, there's a study that was done. Here's another piece of trivia for you. They started studying art. Scientists started studying art. Oh, I'll shoot my ashes into space or my body into space, Adam. Fuck yeah. Because then, eventually some alien civilization will discover it and, maybe they can bring you back. But anyway, we're going to talk about penises. So art going all the way back to the Renaissance times, 1300s, up until this year. Scientists did a study, and they said, our penises in art, whether it's painting, photography, movies, pictures, are penises, when the male is depicted, getting bigger or smaller? That's my first question. Guess in the chat. What do you think? What do you think? Are they getting bigger or are they getting smaller in art? Starting from 1300 in the last 700 and X years. Movie Maniac says bigger. I'll get a couple of guesses in here. Sean says smaller. Darth Nugget just says, I felt a nest of fruit flies in my butthole once, but they're never there when I check. Well, Alex S says smaller. The David statue had a small penis, so bigger. Here's the truth. Here's the truth. They're getting bigger. And I'm going to tell you why, at least what they think. It seems logical that these alterations, because here's what it went from 1400s up to 1900. It was about, they did a penis to ear to nose ratio, because obviously every picture is not from the same perspective, but they looked at the subject's nose and ears, which tends to be roughly the size of the penis when it's flaccid, and they said, okay, and we're not going to do pictures of erect penises, and so they were about a 1-to-1 ratio. And then in 1900, for that 100 year in the 20th century, it went up to 1.2. The penis got bigger. And then for the last 24 years, it's jumped to 1.5 times the ratio of the ears and the nose. And you know why? They say our biggest explanation in the last century and this century is people's exposure to pornography, whether it's from the internet or whether it is from just like, vintage porn from the late 1800s up, and then Playboy, I guess there's not in Playboy, but wherever you see male penises, that or porn movies, things like that, that they're like, this became what was expected and what was desired and what the standard was. And so artists and creators and all that stuff were like, well, this is sort of what people want to aspire to. It says, with the ubiquity of porn, supersized penises and exaggerated female reactions towards them could make men compare their own penis size to that of others, including those men who are featured in pornographic content. The team points out males tend to overestimate the average penis size while also underestimating their own. You may be surprised by the average penis size. I'm curious. I didn't click that, but we will. With a considerable number of men seeking potentially hazardous penis enhancements. I am curious. I want to see what I don't know what I'm going to click here. It says there's a study. Surprise. It's on I Fucking Love Science. So I'm sure it'll be fine, but let's see. The highlight contains a link. Yes, let's go to it. All right, here we go. How big is the average penis and why do men care is the name of the story. Let's find out. I don't care why they care. I just want to know. All right, here we go. Okay, 50%. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. Can you guys guess the average length of a flaccid penis in inches, just sitting there by itself. Nobody's stretching it. Nobody's doing it. It's not erect or anything like that. That's not 2. No, it is 3.6 inches. When it's erect, the average penis size, guess this one. The average goes from 3.6, and where does it end up? One mini candy cane, says Bukaki. That's right. The average erect penis is 5.1 inches. So, there you go. So, that's the penis news. I know everybody was excited. And yet, doesn't matter, the article questions. It doesn't matter as much as people think, I would tell you that. But then again, I've never been insecure about my penis size. So it's worthwhile for men to know that amount of variation for about 85 or 90% of the male population for penis size is centered around the same number, aka most people have about the same size penis. So relax is what it's saying, but okay. Bukaki says, wait, y'all's penises stick out? Yeah, sorry, buddy. A woman's G-spot is only about an inch anyway. Are you talking about the clitoris? The clitoris is not the G-spot, sir. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. It'll be eaten by flies in the end anyway, says Movie. What? Yeah, that's right. What about the vagina, Alex? What would you like to know? It's like bags of sand. What do you want to know about the vagina? Like what? What do you want to know? The size of the average clitoris size? Do you want to know the opening? I don't, okay, let's move forward, shall we? Let's talk about this. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because there's not much to say. It's just cool. Self-mummification is a rare and extreme practice. You don't see it much anymore. You see it in certain Japanese monks, though. Here's what they do. Listen to this. I'm going to show you some pictures. It takes about 6 years. They only eat nuts, seeds, and tree bark. They go up into the woods for 1,000 days at a time in isolation, preparing themselves. Once, and the nuts and seeds and tree bark are to basically get the fat off their body, so they will not decay, is the idea. In that, after they have achieved that, which takes about 1,000 days in isolation, but it can take longer, they are buried alive with a giant bamboo shoot. I don't fucking know. Something to breathe through down there. They keep them down there for 3.5 years. Now, of course, I think they're dead. But they say that, no. They go into a deep trance meditation. And when they are pulled out of the hole that they've been buried in for 3 years, they are self-mummified, so they haven't rotted. And they are still somehow present between the two worlds. This is the idea. And so they can exist more for their temples to help their members because they have 1 foot in death and 1 foot in life. And I want to show you what some of them look like because it's really creepy. And listen, here's what's even weirder. This was outlawed in Japan in 1909. But there was a guy who had been buried, and since they had outlawed it, they didn't dig him back up. They dug him back up like 50 years later. Crazy shit, man. Look at this. Okay, here's one. This is a guy who's done the deed. He's gone through the process. Here's some other ones. Look at this guy. This guy was 100 years old, over 100 years old when he died. And every couple of years, they'll take his body and they'll redress it. There's a picture of that coming up. And they'll keep these guys in these glass little chambers. A pilgrim pays his respect to one of these dudes, right? That's what they ate. Here's a drawing of the entombment of a monk attempting self-mummification. Note the bamboo tube, it says, that allowed the monk to breathe. Look at that. Look at that. It's totally fucked up. The question becomes, you know, would you do it? Would you do it if it was like, hey, it probably won't work, but if it does work, we'll pay you $1 billion or something. I don't know. These guys are in the new Zelda shrine. Yeah, this is the guy whose body they were preparing for a, let's see, open image. They were preparing to like redress it and make it fancy schmancy. Pulled it out of the glass thing, gave him a new little outfit there. Come on now. I bet those monks get drunk and dance with those bodies. Oh, you know somebody's fucking the body. I mean, you know somebody's fucking one of these damn bodies. But anyway, yeah, it was it's an ordeal. I wouldn't do it. All that shit, man, I mean, again, I don't get it, but I'm not religious, right? Like I saw, you guys have seen that picture of the guy who, out of devotion to his God or something, has raised his arm for like 40 years and it's all like emaciated now. And it's, there was another picture that I saw today where a guy he stood in the same place for, it was like 20 years in meditation. And when he finally moved, and you can see it, he's dead now, but when he moved, he had stood there so long that the prints of his feet had sunk into the wood floor of the temple, and you can still see them. Yeah, Sean says the guy with the raised arm is just waiting for the teacher to call on him. Yeah, maybe. Oh, can you imagine? Oh my God, that would be fantastic. That would be excellent. Well, that's a good idea, man. It's a good idea. But yeah, so, do with that data what you will do with that data, my friend. Speaking of dead bodies, you know what you're looking at here? Oh, you can't see anything, can you? Hang on. I'll help you out, boys. You know what this is? This is a story that broke this week. This is crazy. This is batshit crazy. This is a woman who came to a bank to get a $3,700 loan. And she's like, hello, I would like to get a loan for my uncle, please. Here he is. And that motherfucker was dead. He had died a couple hours before, and before his body started to rot, although they said in the bank, they took pictures because they suspected her of being up to no good. They said that he was already starting to show signs of rigor mortis, but she literally like took the pen. He's like, oh, he's just really tired. And she took the pen and put it in his hand and tried to get him to sign the loan and stuff. And they arrested her. And now her lawyer is saying, in fact, here, I'll read you the quote. So I don't know how they're going to talk themselves out of this. But the lawyer says, it says, she wheeled her lethargic-looking uncle into a Brazilian bank. Clerks quickly sensed something was amiss. They don't miss anything. I don't think he's well. He doesn't look well at all, remarked one distrustful employee as the woman tried to get her elderly relative to sign on a $3,250 loan. Shortly after entering the lender with her uncle, she was arrested and charged with violating a corpse and attempting theft through fraud. She knew he was dead. He had been dead for at least 2 hours, the investigating officer said. Listen to this, though. This is great. It says, at one point in the images, which bank workers began filming after smelling a rat, maybe something else, one suspicious employee commented on his complexion. And the woman said, that's just what he's like, before trying to place a pen in his limp hand once again. Come on. But anyway, she gets a lawyer. And the lawyer insists that this was not a shenanigans. The lawyer quote is, the facts did not occur. It has been narrated. The guy was alive when he arrived at the bank. All this will be cleared up. We believe in the woman's innocence. So we'll find out. But yeah, he's dead. He's dead. Oh my, can you imagine? I mean, maybe he's like, hey man, when I die, do whatever you want. What do you want us to do with your body? Bury, cremate? Let me try to get a loan. Let me try to get a fucking loan. There's a bunch of pictures of it. Oh, here he is in the car. Look at this. I hadn't seen this. The New York Post. Look at that. Here she is literally pulling his old bones out the car. Look at that. I don't know why uncle's in quotes. I mean, here's the question. The question is this, maybe there's evidence that he was alive when he arrived at the bank. Let's see. Let's open this, shall we? Let's see what we get. Imagine dying at the bank. Oh, I know. It's the worst. It's like your whole life. You're like, what's my death going to be like? You're going to die at the bank. Oh, fuck. Wild video. Here's the video. Let's see. I didn't know there was a video of it. Shit, life's good. No, I don't want to sign in the New York Post. Okay, so they take him out. And the lawyer is saying, He survived. He's alive at this point, is what the lawyer's saying. Okay. I mean, I don't know how they're going to prove that. He's not moving. He's not breathing. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, where's the evidence that he was alive? Is there any motion in that body? No. And then she heads on up to the bank and, oh shit, she's about to wheel his old bones in that elevator. Look at this shit, folks. Imagine me and that woman who was in the elevator with the body like, oh shit. What the fuck did I just get into? All right, let's see what happens. Here he comes. Here he comes. He was alive. He's not alive. What do you mean he's alive, Bukkake? Yeah, niece, I'm dying. Let's go to the bank, says Awesome Tatum. Right. And that's it. So, you know, I don't know. I think that woman's going to jail. That's what I think. We'll find out. Okay, I got to ask you guys a question. Because this story comes out, and it's kind of like, well, maybe it's innocent, maybe it's not. The comments will tell you what they think below this tweet. But let me just tell you the story, and you tell me what you think. It's a picture of a guy and a young girl eating at what looks like the best restaurant in the world, the Olive Garden, but I don't know if that's where they're at. They're out eating pasta. That's the Olive Garden. That's their endless, bottomless bowl of salad. Anyway, the guy writes, I took my girlfriend's little sister out on a date so she knows how a guy should treat her when she gets older. And that was it. And he posts this to kind of flex. I assume, like, hey, aren't I a good guy? Aren't I, I'm awesome. But a lot of people in the chat are like, dude, that's fucking creepy as fuck. That is creepy as fuck. Right? And they're like thinking he's grooming her. He's grooming. Something weird is going on here. Some people are like, dear girls, if your boyfriend walks extra miles to make your family his own, you have found your man. I don't know about that, but he is preparing for sparring wheel. I don't know what that is. This is strange but interesting. He definitely showed her how the post date goes. Jesus. So I don't know. Is this weird? It's kind of weird. Dizzy Death says it comes off as kind of groomery, right? Why is it we always tell men how to treat women but not women? Hey, somebody said that. Nick, somebody in the chat of this says exactly what you just asked. Hang on, let me find it. It says, harmless question, this guy says, who will show a boy how a woman should treat him when he grows? Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, ideally your parents do. And then somebody else wrote, and this is also a good point, it's like, it says, it seems off, this person says. I think the little sister can observe how her older sister is treated by him without going to dinner with him. Yeah, it's a good point, too. Foolish Duke says if that was his intention, he could have brought her along as a third wheel. You never know what the fuck is going on with this shit, though. I mean, it doesn't look good. But just because it doesn't look good doesn't mean anything bad's going on. He could just be sweet, and it could be like she's got a little crush on her sister's boyfriend, and they know it. And it's kind of like, let me go out and kind of, make it clear that, this is not appropriate, but let me just kind of, help you out and teach you about, hey, you're going to start dating next year in junior high. I don't know. It could be something not creepy. Hafar says, why would he post if he's doing something creepy? Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't think it's creepy, but that's what makes it more creepy is he has no fucking idea. I don't know. I just wanted to share it because I wanted to see what you guys thought. Eternal says dates in the West are usually of the romance variety. It's the only thing. Not sure why he's calling it that. Well, yeah, but parents do that too sometimes. Like, I took my daughter on a date. It's like, no. PK says, is that P Turtle? Right. I understand the value when a parent, it's usually coming from guys. So it's kind of like when a dad says, I'm going to just take my daughter out and give her all my attention today. We're going to go play mini golf and we're going to go to her favorite restaurant. Then I'm going to take her to a movie she wants to see. I think that's great. That's called parenting. That's called being a dad. But when people post about it and call it a date, I'm with you, Eternal. It's a little weird. It's a little fucking weird. Why would you use that word? Now, maybe in other cultures, but you're right. In the West, a date implies romance. And that's fucking weird. It's weird and cringe more than creepy, says Nick Wiley. I don't really distinguish. Once you're in that lane of traffic, you're all the same to me. Okay. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? Yeah, let's do that, Jaffe. What is this story about? Oh, I have news for you guys. Look at this study that just dropped, you old so-and-sos. Parasocial relationships are healthy? YouTubers, aka me, bitches, might make us happier than our friends do. Thank you. By the way, related, there is a Give Jaffe money button on all the sites you're watching this on. So I think because you like me and I make you happier than your friends, it's time for the ducats and memberships to start pouring in, bitches. But regardless, this is a real study. Parasocial relationships, they're healthy. Yeah. Here's what it says. Some people invest a lot of time and energy in online personalities they watch. Despite the fact that the other party, aka me, has no idea they exist. Well, I mean, I know people exist. I'm talking to them right now. Such a one-sided relationship might sound unhealthy, but according to a new study, can actually leave people feeling more emotionally fulfilled than chatting with their coworkers. What are you talking about? These one-sided relationships, known as parasocial, where one person feels connected to another who can't return the same sentiment. In many cases, they're probably unlikely to ever meet in real life. But a team of researchers from the University of Essex, oh, it's from England, fuck it, this is a dumb story. The University of Essex carried out 3 studies with over 1,000 people, 16 and over, in each case to assess whether there was any difference in how people viewed their relationships, both two-sided and parasocial, in terms of getting their emotional needs filled. Okay, so this is what happened. Basically, they created an experiment where they created this scenario that would make the person sad, and then they said, okay, is there somebody in social media that you have a parasocial relationship with, and do you think that would make you happier talking to them about it, or a coworker about it, or a neighbor or something? And in every case, pretty much, the YouTuber won. One-on-one with a friend, obviously, it came in second, but, you know, it's pretty cool. It's pretty fucking cool. So, whatever. Fuck you. We are subconsciously going to Jaffe to have our emotional needs filled. Listen, here's what I'll tell you, though. Now, I am not sending you any fucking messages, you fucking weirdos that are watching this. But what I'll tell you is this. I, as a fellow human, I feel very connected to the people on the show and the people that I talk to and the people who watch the show. The study was funded by YouTubers. That's right. I don't feel it like I know you necessarily. Some of you I do, but I don't feel like I know you. Like if I met you in real life, we might hate each other or we might be friends. I don't know. I don't care. I don't think about that much. But I do think sometimes the concept of parasocial comes off as cruel because it implies, it's a different kind of relationship from the person who's on the camera to the person who's not. But it's still a relationship. It's still, you're talking to people, you're connecting with people. They're real. They have their own problems and strengths and inspirations for you. And, I think that's cool. But yeah, I mean, you still, there's got to be, I'm not a big YouTuber, of course, but there are, even at my level, I'm sure there's 1 or 2 people out there that have a probably unrealistic and unhealthy view of our relationship. But I think most people that I've met and spoken with seem very normal about it. And maybe that's because we do interact so much on the show. Like if you're Mr. Beast though, or someone that just does videos and doesn't do a lot of lives, maybe it's easier to paint an image of them in your head because there's no interaction there, So, who killed Tupac Shakur? I know this one. Well, it probably was the government. honestly. I don't really know. I mean, I did see that wonderful documentary about him and his mom. It was excellent. It was absolutely excellent. And they opined that maybe it was the government, and then they also opined that it may have been the rap bullshit, right? It was like, because who got killed first, Biggie Smalls and then him? Or was it him and then Biggie Smalls? Because I know he was attacked by someone associated with Biggie Smalls and went into the hospital, but that wasn't obviously what killed him. I don't think Tupac's overrated. Hello, few. Eternal says, hello. This is what you understand. That's part of my charm, you moron. He says, hello, fellow humans is the most awkward way. Reminds me of Steve Buscemi trying to fit in at school in 30 Rock. You don't understand. My charm, what makes me great, or one of the things that makes me great, is I ironically use folksy colloquialisms. I'll give you a few seconds to look up those words. Because it's done in jest because they're incredibly stupid. And then it's that thing where you do something often enough that you just normalize it. So if someone comes to you and they hear you saying something like that and they don't have the backstory, they're like, is this guy a moron? Like if people watch me and I say motion picture show, do you really think I say to my family when it's time to see a movie, hey, let's pack up the jalopy and go to the motion picture show? I do sometimes, but it's only because it's so charming. All right. What else we got tonight, folks? Memorial Day weekend. Hey, what's this? AI art. You goddamn right. Jaffe's Museum of the Weird. What this is I'm good, Daniel. How are you, sir? What this is stuff from the internet that I want to share and show you, but I don't really have a lot to say other than like, oh, this is cool. Look at this. So here we go. We're going in. We'll talk about whatever you want, which as soon as my topics run out in a few minutes, we're almost done with my topics. I'll go to the chat. We'll talk about whatever you guys want for a little bit. But yeah, so here's some stuff I just wanted to share. Look at this. In 2005, a medical technician invented Rape-X, later named to Rape-X, to prevent rape in South Africa. The product resembles a female condom with sharp teeth. Any man who attempts to rape a woman impales himself on the teeth and must go to the hospital to have the device removed, hopefully coinciding with an arrest. So I guess I'm trying to figure out how this works because I'm assuming this is inserted into the vagina like a reverse condom. And then when the man puts his penis in her, it's like harpoons, but these are on the outside. So unless this is just the picture and they're attached on the outside, but they're also inside, how would that actually work? I don't understand. So it's got to be right. Am I wrong? Because otherwise, am I thinking about it going in the wrong way? But then you're hitting glass. Yeah, they have to be on the inside. Okay. Yeah. Oh, here we go. This woman developed it with the spines inside. The woman inserts it as a tampon, and if the man wants to rape her, the penis will be stuck in the spines. Oh my God. Look at that. Yeah. Well, good for her. I mean, it sucks you have to that's the world you got to live in. You got to do that shit. But, it's rampant there. That's amazing. Good for the inventors of bringing that to us. Would you walk on this? I would. This is the glass bridge in China. It's glass. You're fine. I mean, it's China, which means maybe it wasn't made very well. You can kind of see the little, third grader fingerprints all over it, but still, I'd do it. I'd walk on that fucking thing. Oh, Mark says he has walked on the bridge. How was it? Yeah. Gungan says, I'm not trusting Chinese glass. You know what? I got to say, nobody likes propaganda, but I don't like propaganda. Especially when it comes, because I look at a country like China, and I know they've got the Uyghur shit going on, and I know there's all kinds of horrible civil rights violations. But how much of that is you talk to people in China, and on the internet, and they get paid, by the way. There's a name for it, I forget, but the government will pay people to go on the internet in America or Western countries and debunk or try to debunk all of this anti-China stuff. And some of it's true, some of it's not. But China has so many cool things technologically that I really fucking hate. I'd hate to believe that most propaganda is true, but probably is. I don't fucking know. We have no way of knowing. Mark Arnold says it's a horseshoe shape. He's walked on it. It's near Datang. I don't know what that is. It's fine. The glass is 3 feet thick. Yeah, I'm sure you'll be totally safe. But no, I totally walk on it. I totally do it. America doesn't do propaganda. I didn't, again, please tell me, Darth Nugget, you're not talking to me. Darth Nugget says America doesn't do propaganda. LOL. Did I say America didn't do propaganda? There's the problem with discourse in our society right now. I didn't say they didn't do. You think I don't know America's full of propaganda horseshit? Of course it is. Of course it is. But that's not what I'm talking about. Of course we do propaganda. It's terrible. I would not visit China and I would not visit Saudi Arabia because at least if the propaganda is real, and on Saudi Arabia, I'm almost certain it is. Hell, I heard Colin Moriarty talk about this on one of his sacred symbols recently. He was saying, and I didn't know this, he said you can get detained in Saudi Arabia for social media that you posted years before you even visited Saudi Arabia. I'm like, I ain't going to Saudi Arabia. You know how much shit I've talked about Saudi Arabia? And I still stand by it, but I ain't going there. I don't know if China's the same. So my answer, I guess, would be no. But I will say, though, that there's a lot of Chinese people I've met that seem very nice. I have nothing against the people of any country. And my God, they do some amazing technology there. And that's the thing. The cool thing about China is because they don't have religion, or they don't have like religious religion. I don't know what they pray to, but it's not like Jesus or any of the I mean, they're not saying there aren't some Christian people there, but it's not a religious country. That a lot of their science gets approved because there's not all this bullshit about abortion and stem cells and all that. It's just like, hey, we got to save people. Let's put those experiments into play. America believes in truth. China believes in lies. That's why God has ordained us the world leader. That's true, Nick. I forgot about God. No, God, you're right. We have God. They don't. They are Buddhists. No, they're not. I'm sure they're not. I know Wayne B. Wayne B says Colin doesn't want people. He doesn't say he doesn't want people to work for China, but he is a suspect when you take a job specifically or accept investments from China or Saudi Arabian companies is what he was talking about. But in that, he brought up the arrest part. Atticus says, Jaffe, do you think America should have taken China and Russia when they had the chance? I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know the solution to all of the, How do you stop people that are corrupted by power from becoming so corrupt that they make everybody else's lives miserable? Is it one leader? Probably not, but I haven't found a solution that works great yet. So I don't know. Let's move on. Let's continue our journey into the museum, shall we? These are, what is this? These are, I'm not going to go through all these. These are 81 of the creepiest pictures ever taken. 81's too much for me. Okay. So, we'll look at a couple of them. And if you want to see more, let me know. Here's the BTK killer walking his daughter down the aisle at her wedding. He hadn't been caught. Obviously, nobody knew he was the killer. Big deal. This is a girl that was raised by wolves, literally. These are dumb. What's this? 1800s. That's not good. Look at that. This is a real story. Charlie No Face. You heard of Charlie No Face? You friends with Charlie No Face? Charlie No Face is a guy who came back from one of the world wars, one or two. Got his face blasted off, if I remember this correctly, with a shotgun. But he was alive, able to move around. But he didn't go anywhere in the daytime, you see, because people were freaked out by his appearance. So he would be seen walking the roads at night in his town, because that was the way he got to the store or went out and took his walks and whatever. And some people would be driving by and they'd see this, and he was called Charlie No Face. That's a real story. Look at that. Lon Chaney. That's not. These are dumb. None of these are good. Jail cell used. Think about that. The Salem witch trials. Think about that. Again, I was going to say, think about we lived in a time where people believed this shit, but god damn, we're getting back there. We're getting back there with all this fucking Christian nationalism. I'm not anti-Christian. I'm talking Christian nationalism. Know the difference, please. People, what's wrong with us? Damn. Look at that. That guy's going to eat my tiger. These are boring. Look at that. Oh my God, it's a Halloween costume? Look at this fucking kid. John Wayne Gacy as a child. Well, no wonder. How hard is that to figure out where he's going to end up? Jesus. There's the guy who killed John Lennon a couple hours before his life, before he shot. Look at that. Hear about this guy? Kid gets in the wheel well, tries to fly somewhere and falls out of the plane. Whatever, who cares? All right, what else we got? We got UV tattoos. It's not bad. Ultraviolet tattoos created using dyes that fluorescence under ultraviolet light. Tattoos can be invisible under normal light. I don't know if it's real, like it's permanent. I can't imagine you can make it permanent, but that'd be pretty cool, though. That you go to a goddamn cockadoodie nightclub and shit, and they turn on the black lights and your fucking parts, you start to glow. That's pretty good. I like it. What else we got? This I love. This is a toilet of a medieval castle. So here's what you did, folks. You came and you sat down on this very uncomfortable
toilet.
You sat down on this very uncomfortable looking seat here, and you just did your thing. You pooped down there, and then the poor son of a bitches that cleaned it. There's pictures of this, not pictures like photographs. There's drawings of it, where there was a job of people who worked in the castle where they sat there with a big fucking shovel, looked like a huge shovel mixed with a pizza oven thing that you stick into the oven to pull the pizza out. And they would just scoop that shit. And I don't know where they'd put it. It's like, well, where does it go? But they'd scoop the shit out of this hole. God forbid they'd be down there when the king was taking a big one. It's like, oh shit. I mean, literally, come on now. Look at that shit. All right. Anyway, let's go to some more museum spots. Okay, now I need you to stop for a minute. I'm not here to gross you out. Nothing else I'm going to show you in this video is going to be gross, but I'm going to give you a heads up. There's something in this person's ear. It comes out of their ear. The video is literally 40 seconds long. I'm only going to play it once. Just look away if you're freaked out by this shit. It's not that disgusting, but I don't want to turn people off. I know some people don't like this stuff. So just know, count to 10, count to 30, and you'll be all right. Here we go.
Yeah, it came out. I told you.
What came out?
It's a fucking spider.
Spider crawled out of her ear.
Shit.
So here's what they did. They poured this, I don't know what this is, cocaine? I don't know what they fucking poured in her ear. I don't know anything about cocaine. And it made the spider go, I don't want to be here anymore.
Because it bubbles when you put it on blood.
No, it bubbles when you put it on your way.
No, watch this, watch this.
It does?
Yep.
Ah, shit, that's cold.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, Lordy.
Yeah, it came out. I told
Oh,
you.
Lordy.
It's a fucking spider.
Come on
Oh,
now.
shit.
Yeah.
It's a spider? Oh, my God.
That's why I sleep with earplugs, my friends. These are things that have been found. Now you can come back if you were freaked out. Cocaine is very effective against spiders, says Slow Lores. I know. These are things that you can, the weirdest finds in a goddamn thrift store. We're getting near the end, if you can't tell, folks. And then I'll go to the chat and I'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. The Mona Lisa. What is this? Oh, it's a little cat. It's Mona Lisa made of animals. Oh, everything's an animal or a person. That's dumb. Look at it. Look at that's dumb. Look at this. Easter Island, but it's a place you pull tissues from. Okay, that's a good thrift shop find. Look at this. It's an autographed picture of Jesus that says, "Bless you, Jesus." Come on. Come on. Maybe Peter Parker got bitten by a spider that was up on cocaine, and that's what's happening. Bless you, Jesus. That's got it. I like how it's certified. There's a certified thing at the bottom. Like, this is the real thing, folks. This is the real thing. A needlepoint that says, if I can hear you chew, I have fantasized about your death. That was found in a pawn shop. Okay. Push it real good. These are salt and pepper shakers. That's pretty good. You got to be a kid of the 80s and 90s to get that, but that's pretty fucking good. Okay. What else we got? 5 fake tampons. No one messes with your tampons. Fill them with booze. So you can smuggle booze in your tampons, but they're not real tampons. It's a booze tube. Okay. Oh. It is a suit. It is a Pac-Man suit. Is all I can tell you. Please look at your screen. Don't ask me to describe this because it's awesome. It's awesome. Why would anyone sell this to a thrift shop? It's basically a suit with the pattern all over it, including the pants, of the video game board of Pac-Man. This is delightful. It's absolutely delightful. I would fucking play that suit if somebody was wearing it. That's awesome. A coffee cup that looks like my husband, is what she says. A classic bowl of babies. Okay, whatever. Oh no! There's a bird eating the bowl of babies. What the fuck is happening? How to disinherit your son-in-law and stiff the IRS. Keep your money in your family. It's a book you can buy at the thrift store. Made with 100% real Grinch. That's pretty gross. Somebody has some boots that look like Grinch boots. That's okay. Whatever. The royal family celebrating the marriage of Will and Kate. Okay, so this is Prince Harry fucking his brother's wife. Oh man, that's pretty good. You can get a cup. You can get a little teacup that shows you the marriage of Prince Harry and Kate. Listen, I have to go on record because people are always asking, don't you hate when people say that and they just want to just tell you something? I get asked this all the time. No, you don't. Just tell me what you want me to know. Anyway, the point is, I'd fuck Kate before I fucked Megan. Is it Megan? What's her name? Harry and Megan, whatever the fuck that lady's name is. No. I'd fuck Kate. Kate's my kind of, she's like a smart, sexy lady. You know what I'm saying? That's true. Gun says, if you wear the Pac-Man suit to a job interview, they won't forget you. Sort of. I've told the story before where I had a video game designer come in to interview at Santa Monica, and he was wearing cat contact lenses, but I did not know that that's what he was wearing. So the whole interview, I was just kind of playing it like nothing was different. Because I was like, I don't want to insult him. Maybe he has some weird eye thing going on. And at the end, one of our designers, Joe Wright, she said, no, dude, those were contact lenses. It's just like a style thing. And I'm like, I don't know. I would have said something. It's not that it was inappropriate at all. It was just like, dude, okay, if you're going to come in and not acknowledge that you're wearing cat eye contact lenses to an interview, that's not reading the room well. It doesn't matter. This is not Prince William, is the point. Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, Michelangelo, and Marshmallow. What? I don't know what this is. About the artist. Okay. An artist painted this. It says, Marshmallow, the snapping turtle, is a gentle scavenger. She created this piece called Wetland Serenity to show the softer side of misunderstood. Who gives a shit? Fuck you. Drink up! Monistat 7 put a cup out. It's vaginal suppositories. And it's a cup that is a brand for Monistat 7. So if you would like to get a mug for your coffee, you can get one that is from a vaginal suppository company. If their spelling skills are an indication, you're going to be fine. It says, I just poison you. It's a tray that you bake food in, and then at the end when you're done eating it, you're supposed to see this message that is like, oh my God, I just poisoned you, haha. But they spelled poison Poisioned, so I just poisoned you. And the caption says, if their spelling skills are any indication, you're going to be fine. So there's the 15 fines at a thrift store. All right, fellas, it is, I'm here for you. If you got anything specific you want to chat about in the text chat or you want to call in, there's the link. I got a little time to shoot the shit with you. What do you want to talk about? I'll just sit here and meditate until I see a question I like or get a phone call. I don't mind uncomfortable silence, actually. It's kind of nice sometimes. Oh, I got high the other day, Mutant Mo. I'm done. I got so high on that last stream. And it was great because I haven't done the pot in like a couple of months. So it was, it hit me like a hammer, which was great. Are you going to stream any of the directs? I am. I don't know if they're going to be members only streams or at least members chat only streams, but I will be doing a lot over the Game Fest week. Absolutely. Do you smell toilet paper after wiping? What's wiping? I have bidets, sir. I'm a goddamn gentleman. How many prostitutes have you seen, Jaffe? Probably 3. A stoner folk, says Mutant Mo, call those tolerance breaks. Yeah, I just, I didn't have any and my kids were taking it all the time. Any tattoos? No, I've never had a desire to have a tattoo. Jaffe, it's a silly conspiracy, but I love the Nick Cage being a time traveler or vampire. I haven't even heard that that's a conspiracy, but, No members only, please, says Wayne B. I can't comment. Well, then become a member. That's kind of the idea. That's like going into McDonald's and saying, don't charge for your French fries, otherwise I can't buy them. Do you understand how that works? But no, Vitaphone, I've not heard that conspiracy. Can you just hop in the waiting room and make sure Psycho's alive? No. If he wants to come on the show, tell him to fucking put his ass in here and click the link. Oh, Wayne B's on Patreon. Oh, well, then of course you can chat. All the members only chats are happening from the Discord. So you'll be able to chat. Oh, okay. Yeah. I wish I could identify who was on what. I understand that I can't, but I appreciate that subscription over on the Patreon. Thank you, sir. What's the difference, says Remington. But you're on the Discord, Wayne B, right? So you can go into the Diet Soda Soldiers room, and that's where I'll be streaming it from. You don't have to watch it from there, but if you want to chat, you can come in there and chat. What's the difference between the COVID leak lab conspiracy and the 9/11? I don't know. I mean, are you talking about the Are you talking about the fact that some people think COVID was made in a lab? I don't know if there's any hard evidence of that, but would it surprise me? God, no. It seems like it totally would track. Absolutely. Movie Maniac, what's up, buddy?
Jaffe, how you doing, man?
Very good. What's up with you?
Wonderful. Can we get a list of David Jaffe's top 10 or 5 horror movies?
Yes, one moment. Lunch with Jaffe is coming up this Wednesday. It's been delayed. It's a long story. There's just been a lot happening this last week with family stuff. But there's an echo. Sorry, I'll fix it. But that'll be happening next week on Wednesday. My favorite horror movies, in no particular order, and I can't account for nostalgia because I'm sure some of that is that. But I would say the first Nightmare on Elm Street. I would say Poltergeist, the first one, obviously with Spielberg, not the remake and not the sequels. I loved Drag Me to Hell. I loved Talk to Me. Is that the movie that came out last year about the hand? That was pretty great.
Sure.
Yeah. But I have to see a list, but those are pretty fucking great. Those come to mind.
Those are good ones.
Yeah. I love horror movies, but I love all of them. I mean, I love the ones that are bad. Like I saw a movie recently on Pot and Popcorn here that was Night of the Demons, I think, which was like an 80s movie that I had never seen. And it was so 80s. It was excellent. I just loved it. It had all the TNA stuff and all the violence, and it was just dumb and fun, and I was a big fan. So I just love that genre.
What is it about Nightmare on Elm Street that puts that? Because there's a lot of 80s slasher movies. Why is that one?
Okay, again, and I grew up with Freddy and Jason, and I love those guys, and I think some of the best kills are in the Halloween motion picture films. But as it relates to Elm Street is because it's surreal, and I find surreal scary. Because he can do anything, and because there are certain shots, like the one that always stands out to me is that when she sees Freddy in the street in the distance, and his arms are all long and twisted and shit.
Yeah.
And it's so weird, and it reminds me of this skit they did in Monty Python's The Meaning of Life. That is this guy going fishy, 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 fish.
With the long arms, they're like
yes.
the Egyptian.
Yes,
like the Egyptian
I just thought it was so fucking weird, man. And so I think it was just a more creative way to kill people and shit. Oh, yes, Eternal. Have I seen Jacob's Ladder? Jacob's Ladder is up there, one of my top 10 horror movies. Freaky as fuck. What did he say? He said, I'm alive. Right? He said, I'm not supposed to be here. Oh, it's so good. But I also got freaked out by... Communion from Whitley Strieber about the alien abduction stuff. So
I've never seen Communion.
It probably doesn't hold up, but when I saw it in college, it freaked me the fuck out. And I love the old stuff. I love the Wolfman from Universal. I love Frankenstein and Dracula. I mean, I obviously no shit. I wasn't alive in those times, but there's something that's so romanticized in my brain about movies at that time, that I love reading about movies at that time and horror at that time. I just love it. I just love the whole genre.
What do you think about Mario Bava's Black Sunday? Because I always felt like that feels...
I've never seen it.
To me, that movie is like what you think an old Universal movie would be like.
Okay.
Like, because you do kind of romanticize the old Universal ones, but then you watch it, it's like, well, okay, I love The Invisible Man, but when you watch, it's like there's like two sets, like it's pretty slim, is what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, and what's crazy about those, I read a book about, I'll get back to Black Monday or Sunday, but I read a book about the history of horror that sort of traced it from like 1850 up till modern times. And it was so interesting to read the chapter on the 30s and 40s when the Universal monsters were, ruling everything. Because for the time... we look at them as charming now. Like there's little toys of Frankenstein all cute and shit. I mean, there are Freddy and Jason too, but but back then they really thought this shit was scary. Like they were screaming in the theater and stuff. And I'm like, over the goddamn Frankenstein movie? But, different time. But yeah, Awesome Tatum brings up Hereditary. I didn't think Hereditary was scary, but I thought it was disturbing. Pretty fucking disturbing. You goddamn right.
That bit at the end where she's banging her head against the attic door. That was nuts.
That was in Hereditary?
Oh yeah.
I thought it ends in the treehouse. That was the one bad note of that movie. She goes up into the treehouse and I'm like, wait, what is this about?
It ends in the treehouse, but there's a bit where she's like Spider-Manning on the ceiling, but like banging her head on the attic door.
Oh, I don't
the attic. Anyway.
I absolutely remember the one headshot though in that movie. Good God.
I audibly went, oh my God, when that happened. That was
so
insane.
Crazy. And what was even weirder about that fucking movie was the girl, for no reason in the narrative. It was such a red herring that she would just be doing that, just that little tick, right. And it's like it set you up to think that had to pay off somehow. And I think that when they did what they did in that shot we're talking about, that's probably what made it even more shocking. Not just that they did it, but it's like you were prepared that she was going to be the linchpin of this whole thing. Like, was she possessed?
She's going to go to the hospital, and that's going to have something to do. And it's like, nope, she's going to the power line. Or whatever.
Oh man, it was something. Oh, I saw The Sadness. Yeah, Dizzy Death in the chat. That zombie movie, that fucking zombie movie. Fuck. I love that movie. So fun, so violent, just great.
That was super gory.
Yeah, I loved it. In the chat, Kyle's talking about War of the Worlds. He says people heard this radio show and thought aliens were invading. People lose their shit over nothing. I mean, I don't know, man, because it's hard for me to I need to go back and really look at how many people, like how much of that has now become kind of it happened, but it wasn't this big fucking thing like it's romanticized to be, or was it really America thought aliens had invaded, what was it, Potter's Farm or something?
I mean, if Frankenstein freaked people out, it's within the realm of possibility to think, sure.
That's true.
On the radio, why not? Do you think that would happen now, or are we too cynical?
Well, it wouldn't happen over the radio because no one listens to the radio.
No, but I mean,
I think you could pull. I think you could pull it off. The question is, it would have an effect. Like if there was a streamer, and the streamer, hired an effects team to make it look like he had become possessed, and then he went out and started murdering people, but it was all a setup. But he was live streaming it, and it was just really well done. I think it would become incredibly captivating, and I think there would be a lot of people that believed it was happening.
I mean, it wouldn't be unprecedented. I mean, the possession bit would, but the murdering bit on stream wouldn't be, which is nuts.
Yeah, but see, like, I don't know if did you ever see that? I'm going to put it up on the screen real quick. Did you ever see that viral marketing thing that when they remade the movie Carrie, where the girl goes into the coffee shop? Have you seen this?
No, I saw the remake, but I didn't see
the remake wasn't bad, but let me show you this real quick. You got to see this. Hang on a second. Because this is the kind of stuff I mean. I mean, you would actually spend some real fucking money and have moments like this where it would be like, okay, what the fuck is going on? Hang on. Movie coffee. All right, let's see. Okay, check this shit out. It's only 2 minutes. I'm going to play it, then we'll talk, all right?
Cool.
All right, look at your screen. Here we go, fellas. Let me bring it up for you guys in the chat. I will mute everything but this. If somebody actually did that, not specifically that, not necessarily just like that, but if somebody did something like that and it was, it was embedded more into a streamer who, gets up and gets possessed and it's better performed. And I think people could buy it. I'd like to do it. I think it'd be a lot of fun, but it costs a lot of money and I'm probably too old to do it. You need somebody who's like a cool, hip streamer to do it. But
you could scream and have some chairs move around.
No, I mean, I would want somebody to actually pretend like they're fucking around with this shit, and then they get kind of possessed, and somebody's following with the camera, and they're streaming it, and then they start murdering people and doing all this supernatural fucking shit.
I guess you'd have to do something you'd have to I mean, do you think you could live stream it, or would you have to do it? Yeah, you have to make it first. Otherwise,
I mean, you would have to. No. You would want to live stream it so people could call in and chat and all that shit. But you could absolutely set it up. It would all be roughly scripted. None of it would be like circumstance, but it would be, it would absolutely be planned down to the effect. Of course, you'd have to.
Did you ever see that mermaid? I guess it was was it Discovery Channel, or was the mermaids are real, and it was some pseudo documentary? It was bizarre.
No, I haven't seen that. That sounds pretty cool, though.
I had a friend who saw that, and hook, line, and sinker bought it back in 2006.
Yeah, it's easy
Before
to.
The internet was quite
you can
the
fool
internet.
Some people all the time, and you can fool them again.
Yeah.
That's true. I'm looking at the chat, but this was all marketing, though. This was marketing for the movie Carrie, so it was very subtle marketing. But once people realized what it was, they're like, "Oh, okay, that movie Carrie's coming out." Okay.
After they had a heart attack.
Yeah, well, something you got to get them. It's hard to get people to movies these days, All right, Movie Maniac. Good to talk to you, buddy. Thanks.
Good to talk to you too.
All right, see you, dude. All right, fellas. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up. It's late. I've not seen Late Night with the Devil yet. I was going to see it tonight with my kid, but I think we decided to watch it tomorrow. Check out Peter Jackson's Forgotten Silver documentary. It's total bullshit. Oh, okay. I'll look into that. There was a movie called Spree. The guy in Stranger Things who plays, I think it's Joe, was a Uber driver that filmed him going around killing people. And my kid wanted me to watch it with him, and I did. And I was like, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good motion picture. So, all right. Hey, you guys, seriously, thank you. Let me make sure to miss any super chats tonight. Hey, there you go. Stoner Joe. Thanks, buddy. Stoner Joe says, did you see Stoner Joe in the King Charles portrait? You know, buddy, I didn't. I'll bring it up so people know what you're talking about, though. And maybe they will recognize your beautiful visage. It is a weird portrait, though. Here it is. Images. It's quite the disturbing portrait. Like you have to wonder, what the fuck is this about? And I'm sure I could look up literally what the fuck this is about and have my questions answered, but it's just not good. It's like, what is this? What? This is horror. This looks like you could literally take this and Photoshop, like, you know, horror language around it. Like, you know, Long Live the King. And it's, you know, the new horror from M. Night Shyamalan. I mean, it looks like a fucking horror movie poster. It's terrible. But I don't know. I got to look at the thing in Discord. There's literally something in Discord that says, can cockroaches live in your penis? And then the answer from AI is absolutely. It's totally normal. Usually over the course of a year, 5 to 10 cockroaches will crawl into your penis hole while you're sleeping. This is how they got the name cockroach, and you won't notice the thing. Yeah, that's debunked. God, I hope it's debunked. Jaffe, please, please, Jaffe, my post in Discord to be debunked. I just read it. Please, okay, I'll debunk it real quick. Hang on, let me go off the screen just to make sure. Have you seen the demon that's built in when you double the painting? Sure, but I've also seen 9/11 on the $5 bill. I mean, you can manipulate an image, you know, and fold it 20 times and once backwards to make it look like anything. But okay, let me look up this cockroach penis thing. Can cockroaches live in your penis? Yes. Cockroaches have been known to enter various bodily cavities. Oh, okay, but not the penis. Okay. Okay, here we go. Let's debunk this. Perhaps you've seen a meme going around Instagram that looks like, and this, how old is this? This is from, let me see how long this has been living. 2 years ago. The meme is called, can cockroaches live in your penis? The inquiry asked. Absolutely, it says. It's totally normal. Usually over the course, you read it. Yes, it can do it. Okay. It's unclear who made the image and why. Why? Because this. But one post featuring it from Shizzy Biscuits has over 22,000 likes, and presumably there are even more reposts of it. Naturally, having seen an image, many have decided to Google the prompt themselves. It is now a breakout Google trend, can cockroaches in penis? That's why I'm here today. That said, I'm pleased to report there's no real evidence of anyone reporting on this alleged cockroach habit. Most likely the screenshot was doctored to get a rise out of people and riff on the urban legend that you can eat a handful of spiders in your sleep each year. So no, it's not true. Allie Star says, I'm a vet and I'm not normal. I understand. Okay. Fellas, there you go. That's I Love the Weird for May 25th, Star Wars Day, Saturday. I'll be back. If you like this kind of show, let me know in the comments in the chat. Consider a subscription, consider a membership, tell your friends. This will be going up on the Patreon and on Spotify on our podcast, so you'll be able to listen to it there. I'm going to edit it a little bit to just get rid of that part where I took the dog out, but other than that, it'll be there. But anyway, yeah, I'll be back next Saturday, 5 o'clock California time. In the meantime, I'll be here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday with Gavin and Games. We've got a big week coming up after next week. Got Summer Game Fest coming up. A lot of shows to talk about, a lot of games coming out. And then this coming Wednesday, we'll be doing Lunch with Jaffe if you are a member at any tier. So hopefully I'll see some of you guys there. In the meantime, I'm off tomorrow doing some editing, hanging out with the family. But be well, be safe, and, thanks, everybody. I appreciate it, man. Bye, all. Hey, now, where's that go? Where's the picture I'm going to put up? I'm going to put it up right now. Maybe. That ain't the right one. I'm a little bothered by that. I have a whole little system here. There you go. Bye, y'all.